Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to get you styled up with Stitch Fix. Shopping's hard. It's hard. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist, though, who understands your style, your size, your budget, and they do all the shopping for you.
Wow.
This is excellent. Shopping, I'm telling you, shopping and figure out your style, it's overwhelming. Let somebody help you when it comes to getting dressed. We don't know what we're doing, so we let Stitch Fix help us out. A Stitch Fix stylist there. They know what works on us. We get the prices that make us look really good, and it feels good. You get some confidence boost walking around knowing that you're looking decent here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we just give the stylist our sizes, style, budget preferences. We order boxes when we want, how we want, no subscription or any of that required. And they send called Just For Me pieces as well. Like, maybe you'd like this, and it's awesome. Outfit recommendations, styling tips. You keep what you love, you send back the rest. It's super easy.
Yep.
You can do it, and we are doing it because it's excellent. Personal styling for everyone. Get started today at stitchfix.com/STM. That's stitchfix.com/STM.
Now back to the show.
Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show and tell you about Noom. Has Noom helped you? I believe it has.
Oh, that's got an app. You can do tracking. It's terrific.
It does. And Noom builds personal plans that can meet individual needs. That's the thing. Takes into account any dietary restrictions, medical issues, other personal needs. That helps build a plan that works for you. And yes, so I know that you've had your own personalized program here that you've been working on. And
it's weight loss This is weight loss results that last. They stick around because you get yourself into a lifestyle change. That's what matters.
That's mainly it. You can't just say, I'm going to cut that out for a month and then go back to it. That's not what it is. So I'm glad it's helping you. That's great. And it really does. I like the psychology and biology-based approach here. Yeah. Noom Weight uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain, but it also takes into account your unique biological factors, Jimmy. All of your multitude flora and fauna that goes on inside of you there.
Sure. Yeah.
Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com, Noom.com here. Based on 3.5-year study of actively engaged Noom users with minimum starting BMI of 25. Individual results may vary. Visit our website for more information.
Welch's knows some things make zero sense, like why the algorithm knows your music tastes better than you do. But zero sugar and full flavor? We made that make sense with new Welch's Zero Sugar. All that passion fruit or tropical punch goodness and none of the sugar. You gotta sip it to get it. New Welch's Zero Sugar. Let's fruit stuff up.
This week, in Columbus, Wisconsin, a gruesome and unnecessary murder leaves detectives looking at the person closest to the victim, but after the case goes cold, things become much more clear. Welcome to Small Town Murder. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Small Town Murder.
Yay!
Oh, yay indeed, Jimmy. Yay indeed. My name is James Petrogallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I am Jimmy Wissman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us today on another crazy, wild edition of Small Town Murder. This one today, my God, is it weird? Just so crazy. It's a whodunit. It's one of those. It's a mystery, and we're going to solve it by the end.
Podcast clue.
Oh, baby, it's a lot of fun. Before we get to that, very quickly, just want to thank everyone for all that you've done for us. Your reviews, 5 stars on whatever app you're listening to. That helps a lot. Trust us. Yeah. I don't know why, but it helps drive you up the charts.
It's something.
Yes, head over to shutupandgivememurder.com today.
What's there?
First of all, your merchandise. Everything you could want is there. Everything from bath mats to coffee cups. It's all there, to skateboards and anything. More importantly, tickets to live shows, somewhere to wear your merch, and that is coming up. Live shows, we have our August the 12th. We are in San Francisco at Cobb's Comedy Club. 2 shows that night. They're going to be different shows, so if you want to come to both, you're going to see 2 different shows, so that'll be a good time.
Tickets available.
Tickets available. The next night we're in Sacramento. That Small Town Murder sold out, but Crime and Sports is available for the late show. And then also September the 10th at the Pabst in Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. Oh, Milwaukee. This is a Wisconsin episode. Make yourselves known. If we sell this out, this will be our biggest show we've ever done at the Pabst. So let's do it. We'll be able to tell everybody Wisconsin is the best damn group of listeners we have, and we'll be very happy. You can then brag to Chicago and Minneapolis about how much better you are. Even if the Vikings and Bears are better than the Packers, you can still brag about something. You never know what ends up happening. So do that. Come out and see us. Thank you for doing that as well. Also, Florida, we're in Orlando and Tampa later on in the year, which I think that's in September. Get your tickets for those as well. All sorts of good stuff. Patreon. Oh, you want to sign up for Patreon.
What's that?
Oh, my God. Patreon.com. Jimmy said, what's that? Like, you're not recording the episodes. Patreon.com/crime and sports is where you get all the bonus episodes, and that is everything for Small Town Murder and Crime and Sports. And anybody that does $5 a month or more, you get access to all of it. Anything bonus we come out with, and we're definitely going to get at least 4 shows a month, if not more. This week, sometimes 6. This week, what you're going to get for Crime and Sports, we're going to talk about John Rocker, who's just known as one of the great assholes of sports. Not great in terms of wonderful, great in terms of large. Just a huge, giant asshole. We'll talk about him. He said some crazy things over the years, and we'll recount them. Then for Small Town Murder, we are going to talk about a case that has been requested more than anything. As a matter of fact, just yesterday, somebody posted in one of the groups, hey, do this case. So it is in Skidmore, Missouri, and it's the case of a town bully who everyone hated, this guy, just the most hated man in town, and he's murdered before dozens of witnesses who refused to say anything. Upstanding people. This isn't like, it wasn't a mob barbecue or anything like that. This was just a small town people, and he's so hated that no one will say anything. It's going to be awesome. So do that. Patreon.com/crime and sports, and you'll get a shout out at the end of the show. Oh, yeah. Jimmy will mispronounce your name, even though he'd love to pronounce it correctly. So we will do that, and thank you for doing that as well. Disclaimer time here.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. This is a comedy podcast. It's a comedy show. We're comedians. The stories are, unfortunately, 100% real.
It's true.
We couldn't make any of this up, and we wouldn't anyway. So here we go. 100% real. They're crazy. We can't control that. We can't control what people do. All we can do is tell you about it. And we make jokes. But what we do is, what we go out of our way to make sure not to do is we don't make fun of the victims or the victims' families.
Why, James?
Because we're assholes,
yeah,
but we're not scumbags.
There you have
That's how that works. So if that sounds good to you, we're going to have a blast. If not, if you think true crime and comedy should never, ever, never go together, I don't know what to tell you. Check it out. Might not be what you think it is. If not, no bitching anyway. I don't know what to tell you. You've been warned. That said, I think it's time to sit back, Jimmy, and everyone else out there. Clear the lungs wherever you are. If you're in your home, if you're in your car, if you're somewhere semi-private. Let's not do this publicly and on a plane or in a school or something like that. Let's all sit back and shout, "Shut up!
Shut up! And give me murder!"
All right, let's do this, Jimmy.
Oh, let's go.
Let's do it. Let's go on a trip, shall we?
Okay.
Right. We are going to Wisconsin here, baby. Oh yeah.
Boy.
Much like we will be doing on September the 10th at the Pabst.
Yeah.
We will be going to Wisconsin. This is Columbus, Wisconsin.
Where the fuck is that?
That is in south central Wisconsin.
Oh.
Every state has a Columbus somewhere.
Yeah.
It's the capital of Ohio, and here we are in south central Wisconsin. It's about 40 minutes to Madison to the west there, and then about an hour 15 to Milwaukee to the east. So if you live in Columbus... If you live in Columbus, you're in a great position to attend our show on September 10th at the Pabst. It's about, like I said, those, and then about an hour 29, about an hour and a half here to Raymond, Wisconsin, which was our last Wisconsin episode 259, which was A Bizarre Psychopath and His Porn was the name of it, and it lived up to the name, we'll just say that. This is in Columbia County. Area code 920. The motto is Red Bud City.
What?
Red Bud City. And the alternate motto that you hear around town is, what the fuck? I thought there was bud here. What happened? There's no... Oh, weed's illegal in Wisconsin. This town sucks. Liars! It's a longer motto.
Go Redbud.
Thought you guys had there's a lot of Redbud things here. Yeah. Later on, there's a Redbud festival, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm just picturing Chevy Chase and Funny Farm.
Is it a tree?
I assume it's some tree or a bush or something like that that grows up north because Vermont is, north like Wisconsin is. So, and Redbud and Funny Farm is in Vermont, if that didn't make sense to you, why we've mentioned Vermont there. So, history of this town, H.A. Whitney is the guy who started this, who is from where, Jimmy? Vermont. He's from Vermont.
He's from Redbud.
He's from Redbud. He's a Redbudian.
Guys going by their initials. I love that's a successful man.
H.A. Whitney from Vermont here. He sells things. He moved to Columbus in 1845 and constructed the first wood-framed store building in the community, and that's where Whitney kind of grew around him, where he put a store. And it served as a store, tavern, rooming house, post office. It was just the all-catch-all for the town. He was the postmaster / bartender / desk clerk.
Yeah.
/ you name it. He's doing it all.
Concierge.
He's the concierge. He's the bellman. He puts a different hat on, though. You ring a bell, and he goes, hold on 1 minute. And he puts a different hat on. He's like, how can I help you, sir? And he runs up with your bag.
Bellhop hat in a postman uniform.
That's it. Hey, how you doing? Sure. Here's your mail and your bags. All right. This place, of course, in 1857, after being open for 12 years, burned directly to the ground, obviously.
Of course it did.
It's a wood-framed house where people are drunk in, so that's not going to go well.
Yeah.
And it was replaced by the current Whitney Hotel, which is still there in 1858. It's not really, it's different now, though. It went through many iterations. 1880s, it used to do, this is weird, it turned into almost like a stopover, I don't know how to put this, like a transient hospital, sort of. People, health practitioners and doctors would come in from different places and set up shop here, and there were expertise on very specific things. So if anyone in town had that, they'd take care of it. At one point, they delivered a 40-foot long tapeworm in this in the ballroom of the Whitney. So that's a ball.
Set up triage. Yeah. Oh boy.
Wow. Imagine catching that thing. It must have been when the monster came out of Will or something in season
Do you just wrap that around your arm and take off walking? 40 feet is long. That's a lot of tapeworm.
You either have to kill it or tame it. You can't just let it be free.
You're gonna name it for sure.
You have to kill it or tame it. Immediately murder it with a machete.
Gross.
It seems like it'd be like fighting a dragon in an old a comic book or something. You'd have to 40 feet is
squirming.
Long.
That's so much.
That was a local couple there. They had to do that.
Where did they take it out of somebody?
Out of their ass, I assume.
Is that what?
Out of their ass. I think they go in that way. I think they probably saw it peeking out.
Yikes!
Probably saw him peeking out.
At that point, you got to see claws, right?
I think what you do is you get like a hunk of turkey or something, like a piece of chicken, maybe like a hot dog, and you cram it up there and try to bait it. Yeah, you get some, you bait it, and if it sticks his little head out, that's when you grab it with some forceps and fucking yank that bastard out. Which I can't imagine what yanking a 40-foot tapeworm out of your ass feels like, but that's got to be remarkably weird.
That's a mature tapeworm. They tell you how long it is, but I want to know. I want to know how wide that thing is.
Oh God, can you imagine?
Is that an inch?
The person just withered. They cheeks sucked in and they fell to the ground. They were half tapeworm.
40 feet long, but how wide? That's the real number.
I don't know. So near the turn of the 20th century, the ballroom was turned into an apartment, and then it went out through all sorts of shit over the years.
Yeah.
And that's all there is. So reviews of this town. Here we go. Not a lot, honestly. It's a small place, and it seems like they want to keep it quiet. I don't know. So
I can't get that long.
Me neither. I'm 40. Is that a typo? I had to look it up.
Yeah.
How
does a tapeworm that long not get tangled?
You think it'd be knotted and shit?
Yeah.
Oh, you're on a knot.
Up?
Wait, stop, Doc, stop.
God, like bubble tape?
Maybe it's all rolled up. Maybe it's
remember bubble tape?
Well, you know what? It's a tape. Well, we're thinking of it like it's a python. As in my head, it's like Jake the Snake takes it to the ring.
It's everywhere.
But I think a tapeworm is relatively thin. I think that's why it's a tapeworm.
Yeah.
So that would probably, but still 40 feet. It had to be coiled in there.
even if it's thin, it's still fat because it lays. You know what I mean? Flat.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not. It doesn't have like girth.
No,
it's not like a big porn cock or anything.
It's got to coil up like fucking bubble tape, right?
Yeah, I think you just bait it and yank it right out. I think that's what you do.
I'm fucking fascinated.
Yeah, you get your rod and reel out there and going fishing.
Some stink bait in there.
That's it, baby. Well, it's going to be stink bait either way by the time you're done with it.
Get some real stink bait. Really, really stinky bait.
It could be potpourri when you put it in there. On the way out, it's going to be stink bait. So 4 stars. 4 stars. I'm the one who's talking about shit bait. What are you talking about? What are you sorry about? 4 stars. Columbus is an area where people can live without having to worry about a lot of dramatic stuff on the streets.
Except for taking a 40-foot long tape. That was
150
dramatic.
years ago, though. I don't think this person's going to recall the great tapeworm incident from the 1870s. So this is current. It's nothing like Milwaukee, and it's a small town, so everyone knows everyone. Again, that's not a positive. There isn't much for retail in stores, so you have to drive somewhere for retail stores. But overall, it's a quaint little town with friendly people.
You're 20 minutes from Madison. You're fine.
Yeah, 40 minutes from Madison. Not bad.
40, yeah.
3 stars. I moved to Columbus in the middle of high school. It was extremely uninviting, and the students were not welcoming. Gee, small town, middle of nowhere, Wisconsin kids. I assume if you could hold your liquor, they'd probably be welcoming. You just have to know how to do that. I moved from South Carolina, and I miss it terribly. I would not have chosen to move here if I knew that the people were going to be so rude. But they still give it 3 stars, though. That sounds like a 1-star review. It must be gorgeous. Pretty as all get out, though, I'll tell you. Every interaction I've had's been a personal hell, but just the trees in the fall, just majestic. So, population 5,117. So pretty small place.
Very small.
A few more females than males. Median age is 36 and a half. It's right around average. A lot of 0 kids that are like under 4 years old and 25 to 30-year-old people. Those are the main groups. So that makes sense. You know what I mean? That all kind of adds up mathematically. More people are married here than normal, almost 60% married. It's that kind of place. It's pretty family-ish. Race in this town, 93.7% white.
Holy.
0.9% black. It's Wisconsin. That's kind of what Wisconsin's known for. You know what I mean?
90-something? Jesus.
Yeah, that sounds about Wisconsin, I think. Right? 1.6% Asian. 1.1% Hispanic. Wow, that's low. It's normally 18%. That's very low. So religion in this town, 56% religious, which is higher than normal as well.
Yeah.
And the majority of them are Catholics, of course, here.
Really?
We didn't know that. Catholics, as you know, are the Baptists of the Great Lakes region.
Country.
I don't know. Fucking of the
Catholics of the
frozen tundra. Catholics of the tundra. There they are. 0.0% Jewish. And politics in this town last election, 48.5% Democratic, 50% Republican, 1.6% independent in the last election. So it's pretty close, like Wisconsin is. That's how kind of Wisconsin, that's, pretty close. They're kind of flipped the parties, I guess, but, pretty close to how the state voted. Economically in this town, pretty close to the average unemployment rate and everything, nothing major. The median household income here, $57,000 a year. It's usually about $54,000 a year, so that's about average. Cost of living here, 100 is average. Here it's 90. So, pretty normal. Housing, though, is the low one, actually.
Oh?
Median home costs $218,600, which is lower than the national average.
Yeah.
And we have some gems for you if you've decided that, damn it, the only place for you. And we should really tell you the things to do first, because then you wouldn't be able to wait to move here. We have for you the Columbus, Wisconsin Real Estate Report. Your average 2-bedroom rental here goes for about $877 a month, which is
very affordable.
That's very affordable. It's about a third under the national average there. Found a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, 836 square feet. It looks pretty shitty from the outside. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Curb appeal.
It's tiny.
Yeah, and it also looks run down. Curb appeal, not great, but it looks like they've put their energy into keeping the inside clean because the inside's better. It's not, you're not going to have all up-to-date appliances and shit like that, but it's clean and put together. Not terrible. $115,000. So, but that's small.
800 square feet?
Yeah, that's a one-bedroom apartment. That's just detached from other places. That's all that is. Then here, there's a 6-bedroom, 4-bath, 5,738 square foot.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. It's an old Tudor-style house. It's got, like, the intricately carved wood in, like, the, doorways and all that sort of thing. Very old school. Really nice. You're going to have to live with, I'm sure, the ghosts of someone's grandmother. There's definitely going to be some supernatural activity going on here, but it's worth it, I think, here, as it really is. $750,000 for that, though, for almost 6,000 square feet.
That's incredible.
That's a good price, especially for like a house with this kind of. It's got, it's overused, but it's got character of a house. You know what I mean? It's cool as shit. Then we have here a 6-bedroom, 5-bath, 6,019 square foot. That is, yeah.
You found 11,000 square feet in two houses
of Wisconsin. It's old and sweet and ornate, and there's a dope ass staircase, and it's got cool shit. It's like that Italianate they call it. It's like that.
Fuck yes.
Cool as shit. Very cool. It's definitely. It's a place where you take like prom pictures, you know what I mean? Like in front of it. It's a cool looking place here. Very neat. $1.3 million for that, though.
Fantastic.
Or $1,299,000. So that's
how many is there acreage with it?
No acreage with it. It's not that big of a land. You're paying for the house here. Yeah, it's in the town. Things to do. Here we go. Okay. Now we're gonna have some fun. Red Bud Days, number 1. Okay. Red Bud Days, which is, I think, exactly what they called it in Funny Farm. I think it was Red Bud Days.
So, yeah.
And that's where he put the hook in the guy's neck.
Yeah, with the fishing tournament.
You're not knocking him out. You're just beating the piss out of him. There's that. And
the calmness with which he said that was fantastic.
That's so fun. And then it comes out. Oh, it fell out. And then they attack him.
Look at that. It fell out.
And he swims to shore. I
don't sleep.
I don't sleep. I don't work. I don't work. I don't sleep. If you come for me, I'll be waiting. So they describe it as, quote, Columbus's citywide garage sale. That sounds terrible. I don't.
Why?
Everyone bring your shit to the center of town, make a pile, and whatever doesn't get bought, we soak it in gasoline and set it ablaze and fucking sweep it off.
Barbecue a pig on it.
We don't give a shit. It's done. So, it happened during Red Bud Week. Red Bud Week, this is part of. It's an annual tradition in Columbus, and we welcome you to participate in it as well. Well, Jimmy, we welcome you to take your shit there. Whether you're looking for garage sale shopping or looking to host your own garage sale, enjoy Columbus's citywide garage sale. That's a lot.
No.
They just said garage sale 3 times in a sentence. That's like a third of that sentence was garage sale words. That's all that was.
I want you to know that we have extra shit.
We may have more info coming soon for participation, so check back on this page soon. Who fucking wrote this? Who is the idiot who wrote that?
Say that sentence one more time.
We may have more info coming soon for participation, so please check back on this page soon. It sounds like a 6-year-old wrote it. It sounds like a 6-year-old dictated it and someone else. What did you say? Oh, you more soon and yeah. Daddy likes to park in the garage, but Mommy parks in the driveway. Excellent, great. Should you want me to add that? No, okay.
It felt like somebody tweeted that and like was overthinking the tweet.
Yeah.
That's a tweet I would delete.
They edited it a couple times and then they forgot to put the second soon and take that out.
They put soon in too many times.
Shit. That's too many soons. God damn it.
Damn it.
Then there is the Red Bud Prince and Princess contest.
Oh, no.
God. The Columbus Chamber of Commerce sponsors the annual Red Bud Prince and Princess contest, which is one of the highlights of the Red Bud celebration. Well, you can't have a town without a prince and princess.
You telling me that's the best you got?
We need a prince and princess of cheese curd. That's what we do here.
The best we've got is judging your children.
I hope it's not for children, but I'm sure it is. And it is. Here we go. The contest is an opportunity for the young people in the community to learn about public speaking speaking and presentation, and also how to present themselves as a piece of ass. That's also something we're going to teach the kids. You know what I mean? They need to know that. The event is open to boys and girls enrolled in kindergarten and first grade in the Columbus County School. All right, that makes it almost less. I don't know if that makes it more creepy or less creepy.
More.
I feel like it's, but then again, if they were like 15, I feel like all these guys are going, 15-year-olds don't look like they used to while they're judging them, you know what I mean? So at least a 5-year-old you can't mistake for anything but a kid. That only, if someone's looking at them, you can see somebody just like, I want to fuck me that kid. And then you tackle him and tase him and throw him in the river. But I don't know if it's better or worse is what I'm saying.
So what you're saying is that few that are around the 5-year-olds want to fuck them, but everyone that's around the 15-year-olds wants to fuck them.
I feel like it's grossly more weirdly like if two guys who are gross, like we wouldn't say this to each other, but we know guys who would turn to each other and go 15 or whatever, but that's some tits on that one. And you fucking know it. And you know that person would be in spades in that place. There'd be tons of that guy. They'd be all over the place. You know that shit. So
I'm now finding it hard to like comment any, like a picture of somebody that says Throwback Thursday, whatever. I find it hard to comment on those because I don't know how old they are in those pictures.
Yeah. No shit.
I can't be like, oh, you were cute or whatever, or look at you, or because I'm afraid that they're going to be like, I was 14. What? Why did you put that online then?
Or you think they're kid and you're like, oh, look how cute you were. And like, I was 27. Fuck you. Like, call me cute. I'm an adult. So then
what grade were you in?
What grade were you in there? Postgraduate in college. I was going for my master's.
Paying taxes.
You know. And finally, the Red Bud Day celebration. And this is where they have the actual Red Bud Prince and Princess contest, the Badger Antique Motor Club Classic Car Show, the cornhole tournament starting at high noon because that's a shootout, of course. So you got to have that.
Yeah, it is.
There's a beer garden, a barbecue cook-off, which okay, I'm in for that, and then live music by Bad Habit. I don't know who that is, but they have them scheduled for a 3-hour set from 1 to 4.
What?
They better be really good because that is a long fucking time to listen to some bar band suck.
Bad habit.
Bad habit. Your bad habit is you keep playing these terrible small town festivals and you need to stop. So crime rate in this town, what we're interested in, of course, the crime rate, property crime is about 20% under the national average, so a little low. And then violent crime, murder, rape, robbery, and, of course, assault, the Mount Rushmore of crime here, is about half of the national average. So it's kind of a small, safe little town in between two cities that, little suburban type deal, and it's nice. So that said, let's talk about a horrible murder. This is a horrible murder. Let's just say that. We have to go back to 1980 here to start out with. And this is going to span some time, this episode, because it is, wow, is this a crazy story. So we have to go back to March 11th, 1980. We'll set the table here. We'll go back, we'll go forth, then we'll come back to March 11th, 1980. First, let's talk about Lane McIntyre. Laney boy. Lane McIntyre is 23 years old.
Okay.
Here, Lane. This is he's got it rough, I think, a little bit here. He's got a young family, as we'll talk about. He works the overnight shift at the Montesee Paper Corp plant.
And he's got kids and a wife?
We'll talk about it. You want to see the Montesee Paper Corp plant?
Let's see this.
This is in its current iteration where it's been, it's not as, I'm sure, depressing as it was when it was that. But here, roll over a little bit here and I'll show it to you. Will you?
What the fuck is
Look at that. It's on the water, so it looks like they just dump whatever waste they have into that lake. I'm not sure what's going on there. That river is
paper mache.
You can't even. It's only like 6 inches deep because it's just paper mache bottom.
I didn't realize that paper mills look like power plants.
It's not pretty. It looks
It's got rust dripping off everything. That looks like shit.
To work overnight there, to see that in the morning sun as you leave, tired, that has got to be
the sun peeks over that.
Oh, God, my eyes. Jesus Christ, blinded. I've been making paper all night. So by this time, he is married right now to a woman here named Marilyn McIntyre. Her maiden name is Rahn, R-A-H-N. Okay. I guess that's Ron.
Ron sounds right.
That's what I would say, too. They have an apartment at 305 South Ludington Street in Columbus. Ludington. Okay. And Marilyn, she's 18. She's younger than Lane here. Yeah. She has a couple of sisters, including an identical twin sister, even. She's one of an identical twin pair, which is
fascinating.
Very strange always. I always find that to be just so odd. Not for me, for them to be like, to never have any, to always have someone that looks just like you's got to feel weird, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
As somebody who doesn't have a twin brother, yet everyone seems to look like me. Yeah. It's weird. Huh?
It's weird. Now imagine if someone actually looked exactly like you.
I can't imagine.
Oh, I saw you. No, you didn't. It wasn't me. Saw my brother. Just stop. I'd have to live on the other side of the country.
That's why you didn't answer. I shouted your name 14 times.
Yeah, I heard you. I just ignored you because I knew you weren't.
There is that
brother.
Too.
Yeah,
you have that excuse all the time.
Oh, I was my brother. Yeah, you have the I was my brother excuse, which is pretty good.
Even better, you have the excuse of somebody walking up to you that you do know, you don't want to talk to them and just pretend you're your brother.
Problem is, twins in a small town, they probably know the same people. That's the problem. They probably know all the same people.
Yeah.
Shit, it's whichever one you think I am, I still know you. Damn it, to talk to you. So now he met Marilyn when she was 16. Okay, so that is when he's 21 and she's 16, which, as you know, that age gap is not small town murder approved behavior.
We do not.
We don't condone that.
Okay.
But for some reason, there was a period of time. Apparently, 1980 is included in this period of time, or 1978, where if you were in a small town and the guy was a nice guy who didn't seem like a pervert, and I'm doing that in quotation marks, their parents would let you go out with them, even though you're a sophomore.
Certainly
and they're
some perversion in there.
Yeah, even though you're a sophomore and they work at the paper mill. You know what I'm saying?
That's filed 3 years worth of taxes.
Very different life we're talking about. He's making sure he's got his workers' comp paperwork all done, and she's like, I have a science test tomorrow.
He talked to the utility company this month, and you talked to a teacher.
He's worried about his long-distance bill at this stage in his life. So, but there's
somebody with a stop sign walked you across the road.
No shit. But there is a reason for this, though, because she doesn't come from your typical background of this kind of suburban town where, her parents were, everything's fine. You go to her house and you meet her mom and dad and all that kind of shit. Or even like her parents are divorced, but she lives with her mom. None of that even happened. According to her sister Carolyn, who is her twin, she says, our mother was killed in a car accident in 1966.
Shit, damn.
So when Marilyn's only 5 years old, her mother's killed in a car accident, which is absolutely horrible. So the twins, Carolyn and Marilyn, they named their kids Carolyn and Marilyn.
Oh, they did.
That's tough. It's bad enough. Here we go. People with twins. It's bad enough that they look alike. You don't have to dress them alike or name them rhyming names, please.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that. Or alliteration. They can't. You don't have to be Kyle and Kevin. They don't have to be. Just give them identities that are separate. They'll be alike. Don't worry. They won't be able to help it. They have the same DNA.
I went to school with a pleasure and treasure. How horrible is that?
Yeah, that's
not good.
I had a Dave and Doug. Dave and Doug. Those are the guys I knew.
God damn it, I hate it.
I'm trying to think of what the hell. Oh, and Megan and Mandy was another pair I knew.
No.
Yep, a friend of mine's little sisters.
Was Mandy the fun one?
I don't know because they were much younger.
Megan's pretty fun too usually.
They were much younger, so that's just creepy to think about. The last time I saw them, they were like 11. Yeah. That's really creepy to think about. No. Yeah, I just see these
Pleasure
little girls.
and Treasure were older than me, and they were both quite a party.
That's what you can't. If you name your twin girls Pleasure and Treasure, you're kind of signing them up for a career in porn, are you not? Pleasure and Treasure, the threesome twins. That's a fucking. They could have part 1 through 750. That's it. Their own. Think about OnlyFans. Pleasure and Treasure, the threesome twins. Hey, everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about the safest sponsor ever, Simply Safe. Absolutely. These people will keep you safe. It's amazing. You know that every 26 seconds a burglary takes place in the United States, according to the FBI. That means that by the time this podcast is over, dozens and dozens of homes will have been targeted, ransacked. God knows what happens here. So protect your home before it's too late with Simply Safe proactive security system. Simply Safe helps stop threats before they even have a chance to break in. Named Best Home Security System by U.S. News and World Report 5 years in a row. And by us for about the last 8 years as well. If you trust us, believe me, you want Simply Safe. So visit simplysafe.com/small to claim 50% off a new system with professional monitoring plan and your first month free. That's simplysafe.com/small. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Now back to the show.
This show, Small Town Murder, is brought to you by BetterHelp. Get yourself some therapy, everybody. Honestly, here. We often hear about, red flags that you should avoid. Hey, that's a lot of a thing. It's become a real phrase now, real cliche. Yeah. But why don't you focus also, you look at green flags in friends and partners. Look for good things as well. Right. And maybe you're not sure what that looks like, though. Therapy can help you figure that out. What are positive things? What are the green flags? And then you can practice them in your relationship. It's absolutely a fact. And so, honestly, we absolutely are huge advocates for this. It really, really helps. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable. It's convenient. They serve over 5 million people worldwide. You can access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists, wide ranges of specialties there. Here's the coolest part. You're not getting along with your therapist, you're just not feeling it, you can switch at any time, no extra charge.
Wow.
The thing is, they want you to get help. That's it. And you can do it with BetterHelp. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/smalltownmurder today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
That's incest, though, right? Unless they're just not touching each other. But there's also the you're setting them. They don't even have to have stage names. You know what I mean? They're already set.
Yeah, done. People are just going to assume it. It's not good. They're just going to start jerking off on them. You got to be careful. Hey, watch out! Guys will start taking their cocks out when they find out your name. They can't.
Your name's
men can't control their penises. Remember, so be careful. That's what you have to tell them if you name them that. So. Anyway, them and their older siblings as well, Brenda and Dean are their older siblings, had to move in with their father then because their parents were divorced. Their father also has a wife who turns out to be the evil stepmother, kind of the storybook evil stepmother, abusive and everything else. Carolyn said, quote, "It was physically abusive, mentally, verbally abusive. And it was mainly on Marilyn and I. At the age of 13, we finally moved into foster care."
Jesus.
Yeah. So now it's making a little more sense, right?
You've got your parents and you're in foster care.
Yeah, that's bad. You got at least one of them and you're in foster care. So at 16, she was just looking to not live in foster care and to have a stable home and to just have a normal life. That's all she's looking for. And then she meets Lane, who's 21 years old, super stable, real kind of calm, kind of, steady hand kind of a guy. Works at the paper mill.
Hell yeah.
Works over at the paper mill. People always going right on paper. I mean,
you betcha.
There's always that. So he's looking really good to her, and he's a nice guy. Also,
and here's the other thing. Let computers take off. I dare you. We'll just take the lines off it, and it'll be fine.
You're going to have to print something for a while, and then eventually none of y'all use printers anymore. And but shit, I'll be retired by then, so fuck it. Never mind.
Let the PDF come out. I don't give a fuck.
Y'all do what you need to. I don't even care. Microsoft Word can suck my balls. I don't give a shit. Doesn't care. He's singing songs about it. Yeah. So he's this is, but again, 21 and 16. And another thing too that's makes it weird is that at 16, 21-year-olds look amazing because they're cool, they're adults. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You see that a lot. That the high school age girls like college age boys because they're more mature, they're more adult. Sure. This guy gets a paycheck. He's got he's got a pension plan, and he's a retirement
and
thing.
You can even strike that from girls because freshman year
the other way too. Yeah, it works the other way. It works the other way.
In her truck, she was smoking.
Well, we just think they fuck better, though. That's why.
That's probably true.
That's the difference. Like, she's looking at him like, oh, okay, like for a future. We're like, I bet she knows how to suck a dick like nobody's business. Look at her, 21. Been at college for 3 years. Oh, man, I bet it's good. Like, that's how
all the things I jerk off to.
Yep, that's what a teenage boy thinks like. You think that's gross, but because there's women listening going, no, yes, that's how we can't help it. It's gross.
That's probably right.
It's stunning that we can, that that's what it is, but it happens that way. So, anyway, you can see what's going on here. She's looking for a life raft. She's reaching up for anything she can grab. She said, the sister said, quote, or he said, I'm sorry, I was just enamored with Marilyn right away, is what Lane said. She was so pretty. I was just like, just control yourself. Just don't rape this kid. Is that what you had to say to yourself? What a weird thing to have to say.
Keep it in your pants, Lane.
I think maybe he meant you don't be the aggressor because she's 16. If she pursues you, it's one thing, but either way.
Don't scare her off, right.
But yeah, she's been bouncing from foster home to foster home. She's been in several of them. He said she was just so sweet, though. She still had this attitude, like she cared about other people. She wasn't bitter. She wasn't like angry at the world. He said he remembered one Halloween. She's a teenager still. She's 16. She didn't want to like go to a party or do like teeny Halloween shit. They went around together and collected donations for UNICEF. And
what?
For UNICEF. And even though he was very tired because he had worked, she wouldn't let him stop because they had some more houses and they could get some more money to do some good for charity. So
she's amazing.
She's a real nice girl here. He said also, and everybody said basically, that the foster home she was living in at the time was terrible. The foster father was abusive and scary. And so this was kind of, everybody saw this as like a rescue. This was like he was rescuing her from this situation, is how all of her friends looked at it, how she looked at it, her sister, everybody. It wasn't thought of as weird at all. Carolyn said right about Marilyn toward Lane, quote, it was love at first sight. She loved him too. He said, I wanted to take care of her, be there for her. That's nice. And Carolyn approved of the relationship, the twin, but the older sister, Brenda, was a little wary of the whole thing. She said, quote, I didn't think he was good enough for Marilyn. She had a rough life growing up. Was this guy going to make it any easier? No. He wasn't like some, he wasn't a college boy or, some rich kid or something. He's a guy who works at the paper factory and, tries to make ends meet.
Blue collar's not a bad life.
No, it's not. But she's saying like, oh, she's not good enough for my little sister.
Right. I'm just saying Brenda needs to calm the fuck down.
Yeah. You're in rural Wisconsin. What the fuck are you looking for? You know
that's a great point.
Yeah, if you want to go somewhere, not that there's nobody here that's, I don't know, white collar or whatever, but I mean... You're probably a few more blue-collar people in a small town in Wisconsin, and especially if you're blue-collar. Yeah.
Give him some time. Maybe he'll run that factory one day.
That's the other thing. We don't know that.
Down, Brenda.
We have no idea here. That's we don't know. Yeah, he could be. Today he's fucking never mind. All right, we'll do it. All right, so she says that it wasn't good enough. Brenda, though, said they ended up getting married anyway, and Brenda was on board with it because they really seemed to be in love, so why not? They got married January 19th, 1979. Marilyn is 17 years old at this time. Whoa. Yep, and he is 22. And Lane says it was a small party, maybe only a dozen people, but it was one of the happiest days of my life.
I'll bet.
He loved it. Soon, the December of this year, they got married in January, and by December, a son is born. So they got cracking right away. She wasn't even pregnant when they got married. That's a teenage wedding where one of them isn't pregnant is, I assume, rare by the late 70s, right? So anyway, they did that. He said that coming summer was going to be the best summer of our lives, being husband and wife with our brand new baby. Jimmy knows there's something bad coming. If that's we don't tell stories of the best summer of anybody's life generally. That's not usually what our stories result in. It's usually
I think we've done 300 episodes of none of those.
None of those. No, it's usually that was the worst period of my entire life. Oh my God. It felt like my guts were being ripped from my body on a regular daily basis. So March 10th, 1980, let's go to here. Let's cut to that, right? 3-month-old Christopher, that's the son. So they have Christopher. They're living in this apartment. I gave you the address there. And on this night, starts out like any other night. Lane's got to work night shift tonight. So, he works 11 to 7, I believe, is his shift
slept
here.
All damn day.
He's probably. He said they did laundry, and then he left for work. That was that. He's asked later on, do you remember what Marilyn said to you when you left? And she said, I love you. Do you love me? And I said, of course I do.
Obviously.
And he went to work. I'm going to go make some paper now. Let's do this shit.
We go make some paper to make our paper.
Let's do it. I'm making that paper, baby. So 7:10 a.m. Okay, he leaves the plant at 7:01 a.m. and he's home by 7:10. So he lives 9 minutes from the plant. That's pretty cool, right there.
Yeah.
He heads home. He arrives at his home at 7:10 a.m. and he says, "quote When I approached the front door, the dog was outside on a chain barking. I thought, well, that's unusual. I stepped inside the door and stopped there for a while, not believing what my eyes were seeing.
Oh, boy.
I saw my wife laying on the floor, dead, and it was like I was in a tunnel."
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's what he says here. He said he walked in, he left. They said, I love you, I love you. He went to work, just did his thing, came home like normal, listened to the morning zoo show on the radio or whatever.
For 9 minutes.
9 minutes, pops in the door, dead wife. Oh, my God. Okay? He's in a tunnel. So it's on the living room floor. That's where she is. He says, a body on the floor with a knife sticking in the side of her chest.
Oh, God damn it.
Jesus Christ. And he adds to that, quote, and a mutilated head. Nobody wants to walk in on that. That's horrible. A body on the floor with a knife sticking in the side of her chest and a mutilated head. Mutilated is not a word.
I don't even want to see what that means. That means something horrible.
I'll explain the wounds to you, but it's
okay.
Not good. So he says later on, speculation was she might have answered the door and let someone in. That's what it is here. That's what they're thinking, but we don't know because they have a lot of thoughts here. So he then, after being in a tunnel for a moment, realizes, hey, I have a 3-month-old son.
Yeah.
So he says that he ran into the bedroom to check his son's crib, and his son is unharmed in the crib. Christopher is sleeping soundly, completely fine, unharmed in the crib. So he's like, okay, well, that's good. Now, there's an upstairs neighbor here, and this is a strange thing, okay? There's an upstairs neighbor who lives above them, who she said she learned about the death from Lane because Lane came to the door. Before he calls anybody, he checks on his son, and then he runs over to the neighbors upstairs.
What are you doing, Lane?
This is so weird. He says, quote, it was about 5, this is the neighbor saying this, it was about 5:10 after 7, somebody pounded on the door, our door downstairs. It was Lane, and he said, did you hear anything last night? I just found my wife murdered.
Dog, stop investigating.
Okay, yeah. And okay, now this, I'm just going to say this, I'm not casting blame, obviously. I'm just saying, like, that's a weird thing to say. I just found my wife murdered is not. It would be more normal to say I just found my wife dead. Normally, when someone makes a narrative of any kind, whether any sort of narrative like this of like trying to explain what had happened when they tell someone is usually a sign of some sort of, but not in everybody. That's the thing.
Not always. Yeah.
Not always, because people's brains are all fucked up. So he might have just. Who knows what he's thinking at this point? So,
but his wife's dead, and he knows he didn't do it, so he's probably just casting out
That's what he's saying. Yeah, I mean, that's what he's saying. Or people say that when they know they did do it because that's how they know this person is murdered. You know, I'm not saying he did it. I'm just saying that's the theory on it, and that's why that's thought of as deceptive. But it's not always deceptive. Like anything is. Nothing's 100% or even fucking 80. So. At that point, she said the neighbor said by the time the chief of police knocked on the door, she did remember that she had heard something unusual in the middle of the night. Oh. She said about 3:15 in the morning, I woke up and the dog was just barking up a storm. and that Marilyn and Lane's dog was barking at around 3 o'clock in the morning. And they said that her husband said, and it was like he was pulling on something.
Huh?
I don't know, like when a dog plays tug of war with a rope. Like, I don't know if that's what it is.
Like growling with his mouth closed?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
And they said, is that unusual? And the neighbor said, well, I never heard him bark like that before.
Why say that many words? Just say yes.
Yeah, unusual. So, I mean, I guess it's saying maybe not, but I never heard it. I guess it'd be or you could also say, beats the shit out of me. It's not my dog.
For me to hear yes.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So Lane, he's talked to the neighbor. He checked on his son. He's talked to the neighbor. Then he calls his parents after that. He calls his...
No police yet.
He calls his parents and asks them to call the police. Okay. Which is, I don't know how to explain that.
You could have.
Yeah, he's called his mom.
You just could have called him yourself.
Call the police. So the police arrive. Okay. Like we said, Christopher unharmed. Thankfully, that's great. The police arrive immediately. Obviously, it's a crime scene, so they're checking everything. No evidence of any forced entry into the house whatsoever. That's why they think she had to have maybe opened the door because. Yeah. Definitely no forced entry. There's a police officer named Pete Gasser who was there. He was one of the first to respond, and he said, quote, "It was gruesome." Jesus Christ. Gruesome, mutilated. These are some heavy words being thrown around here.
Words, yeah.
Gruesome and mutilated. He said that, quote, he was just said it was horrible, and now, they talked to Lane McIntyre's shift supervisor at the paper plant immediately, and they say, now the supervisor says, as far as I know, he never left the building during his shift, but he also works on his own a lot and has a lot of freedom to move around and do whatever he wants, so I don't keep track of him. Yeah, there's no cameras at the paper mill in 1980, and nobody keeps track of the guy.
11 to 7, I sometimes nod off.
That's going to be the skeleton crew of one guy working in each department or something like that. That's not the whole assembly line going at once in the middle of the night. So there you go. So that's, I don't really know, but according to no one saw him leave or anything like that. So one of the police officers here said, quote, "Right now, we believe her death is a homicide." No shit. Knife sticking out of her chest with her skull crushed in. That sounds like that'd be the weirdest suicide I ever saw in your living room on the floor.
That seems unnatural.
It's an accident, everybody. Like, she was chopping something, she tripped, and all hell broke loose. That's ridiculous.
Natural causes.
Natural causes, obviously. And then, no, those things are inconsequential. Don't worry about those. That's crazy. So I would say it's a homicide. The autopsy determines that, oh, Jesus, this is terrible, that she has... Marilyn has numerous and severe wounds to her head and body from a beating, and those injuries, along with the multiple knife wounds, were responsible for her death, is what they say. She was stabbed, strangled, and bludgeoned to death, and sexually assaulted as well.
Oh, no.
Yeah, everything. I mean, it's horrible. This is as bad as many ways as you could hurt somebody. This person, she's been hurt here. The coroner said, quote, "It was brutal, real brutal." Gruesome, mutilated, brutal. These are all, coroners say brutal. Coroners see a lot. If they say brutal, it's brutal, you know. They said her body had marks of strangulation, evidence of, this is from the report, quote, "evidence of traumatic sexual contact." Yikes. That's the most I can get out of it, so you can extrapolate whatever you want out of that, but that's just horrible.
Vicious.
Lacerations, bad bruises, a kitchen knife buried in her chest, and we'll talk about her skull in a moment. The coroner also said she'd been hit repeatedly, hard, many blows to the head, strangled and stabbed. He said that she had been stabbed once in the chest with a paring knife, and they said the stabbing by itself would probably not have been fatal, but I guess mixed with the other shit. He said that there's no way of telling if she was stabbed before or after the bludgeoning, adding that the various elements of the attack occurred almost simultaneously.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, the cause of the time of death here, we'll do this first, suffered multiple blunt force injuries to her head, resulting in lacerations and skull fractures that left pieces of bone in her hair. Wow. Not just a skull fracture inside, like broke the skull open with the hair, so a piece of it came out.
Man.
And they found it in her hair, bruising on her face, and one of her ears was split even. Shit. This was a savage attack. This is like, I don't even know, a fucking something from another dimension attacked her. This is crazy.
Destroying her.
It's nuts. Now, they place the time of death, and this is based on... The time of death, by the way, is a crapshoot still to this day. Nowadays, they know more about how little they know about time of death. It's so many factors factor in, and like temperature and everything. It's crazy how many factors that they try to find. So at best, it's a guess. And this guess is based on the neighbor hearing the dog barking. So they go, well, we think it's around 3, and the neighbor heard the dog barking around 3 also. So if we put those two things together, we're going to call it somewhere around 3:30 a.m.
Yeah.
That's the time of death, which is, again, not reliable by any stretch of the imagination. Right. I mean, the dog might have had to shit, and who knows? You know what I mean? So
bodies, it's fascinating what bodies do after death. It is... obviously disgusting, but seeing a dead body will change everything inside you, what you thought you knew about death.
Yep. Well, and the other thing, too, is I guess people who don't deal with a lot of death investigations, a lot of times, like in a small town, they will they'll mix up the riggers, too, because there's rigor and then there's second rigor. Okay. There's 2 riggers. So rigor mortis will set in, then you'll go... kind of limp again, then there'll be a second rigor is how it works.
And
so
the second rigor can oftentimes make a body sit up,
And also, I don't know about sit up, but I mean, you're all contracted and condensed. Yeah. But those times, a lot of times, they will find a body in rigor, and if they have less experience, they won't know which one it is, and that'll fuck up the time of death. And then also there's lividity, and then what if it was hotter in the room than they thought? And you never know. It's so...
And then you have humidity, and then you have the dry... It's so many things can contribute to a body being better preserved or worse.
The baby's asleep, so you got to figure it was after the baby went to sleep, based on that. I would assume anyway, unless somebody killed her, put the baby to bed, and then went about their business. I don't know, or something like that. That's the only way. Otherwise, it could work. So either way, the coroner said she was hit a whole bunch of times. This was a homicide. Period! Exclamation point. So it's an extra bit of punctuation that you don't need right there, but still.
So to that sentence.
Deep bruising in her brain. Deep bruising. They said that the bruising was much more than is typically seen in a physical assault. The guy said, quote, it was more like what you see in a car wreck in just pure extent. Like if
raining blows with force.
Like if she shot through the windshield into a telephone pole, that would be the type of wound she would have going 60 miles an hour. Wow. So it's ridiculous. They say she was wearing a nightgown at the time. The nightgown was 54 inches in length, opaque and blue, made of crushed velour or fleece material with 3/4 length sleeves, and it was sold by JCPenney. So
that sounds so comfy.
It sounds very comfy. Yeah, so it sounds like she was settling into bed is why I was talking about that. So again, this puts for either she's settling in or she's already in bed. She's not. She didn't just go to the store. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so she's not washing the car.
No, she's not doing any shit like that. She's definitely in for the night. So one of the detectives who was first on the scene here with the state crime lab investigators said that didn't appear to be a robbery for a motive. There's nothing missing. There is no evidence of forced entry into the house.
Right.
So this is very odd. They have no suspects, nor have they located the instrument used in the clubbing either. They don't know what she was beat over the head with. Wow. At the time, they just said there's a shitload of things around the house that could possibly be used for that. I mean, it's something big and heavy. There's a bunch of things. Who knows?
Yeah, but you'd think that thing would be covered with fucking blood.
Well, yeah, they're saying who knows. Maybe it's gotten cleaned up because we'll talk about that for a minute, too. There's soap in a different spot than it would be. So it's very confusing. They don't know what's going on here, but they figure out that the paring knife is from the kitchen. So that is from the actual house.
Domicile, yeah.
So right away, that is the murder weapon, or one of the murder weapons, wasn't brought in by the murderer. So that's a piece of how a murderer operates. That's a piece of MO, and that's a piece of all that, whether they bring it or not. So they said they have no suspects. They're looking for them. Now, 3:30 a.m. is the the big thing about the guesses, like I was talking about. That's based on the dog. That's based on some other kind of shit. The other thing is, if you were working 11 to 7, the way the cops are looking at it, what time would your lunch break be around?
Around 3 a.m.
Around 3 a.m. So that's what they got to look into also, because they haven't cleared Lane yet either, because they have to. His boss said he's there, but they're still,
Well, boy's 9 minutes away. Who knows?
They don't know anybody who has a motive, and we'll talk about this as well. The next day, they find out that days earlier, within the last week, they had a pretty hefty life insurance policy put on Marilyn.
Brand new.
Which is weird for an 18-year-old to put a life insurance. I guess for the child, it makes sense. If you have kids, you need to have a life insurance policy for that. But it's the timing of it's suspicious at best. We'll put it that way. Yeah. So the cops are like, well, that's interesting. That's a new factor we didn't think about. So when they arrived, they found Lane cradling Christopher in his arms, sitting there. They noticed that there's no sign of forced entry, like I said. So it's either somebody that, got to be somebody she willingly let into the house, probably, unless the door was left unlocked, and they talked to Lane about that too. One of the investigators here said, when you see this level of violence, typically it's a crime committed by somebody that knows the victim and has anger toward them for some reason.
Yeah, somebody's mad.
This is personal. You don't bash you don't bash someone's head into this extent unless you fucking mean it. You can't muster that kind of rage otherwise. Right. You just can't. I could see if you hit somebody till they die, but then you'd be like, all right, God damn it, let me go figure out what I was doing over here. If that's not your main motive or your main
to continue strangling and stabbing, that's too much.
And let's not forget raping as well.
Obviously, yeah. So vicious, brutal raping.
Yeah, probably while you're bashing them, I would assume, in the head, which is fucking horrible. So they said Lane had an alibi, but it's not an airtight alibi. He's 9 minutes away. This wouldn't take that long to do. He's 9 minutes away. He gets a break, and he has kind of free reign to walk around at work. It's not like he's, in a secure zone or something like that. So his time card showed that he was at the paper plant that night, but like they said, they found out he works alone. He's allowed to take breaks kind of at will. And then the next day, they find out about the life insurance policy that was taken out less than a week before this happened.
Oh, Lane.
And it's not looking good for Lane at this point here, but there's no other evidence linking him there's nothing linking him to it directly. Right. It's just
circumstantial.
They can't 100% rule him out at this point. And so that's really irritating to know whether they have a psychopath on the loose or some asshole's husband who's a jackass. They don't know. So the police department said the next day, we've talked to a lot of people, but none that you would call suspects. It's a bad sign. This scares the shit out of everybody in town, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, young mother with a baby in her home in the middle of the night, allegedly, or whatever. Somebody comes in, bashes her skull in, rapes and stabs her. This is the nightmare of everybody. This is horrible. People are definitely locking their doors.
Yeah, you're never more vulnerable than you are in your fucking own home in your nightgown with your child asleep.
Yeah, by yourself, especially.
Right.
You're worried about protecting your baby. That's scary shit. So they said they've made, they keep making periodic. The state keeps checking in periodically, their investigative team, to make sure they're not fucking it up here locally, which is good. Yeah. The police chief, Lee Erdman, he said that while the bludgeoning instrument has not been identified for certain, he said, quote, several items in the McIntyre home are being viewed as possible weapons, and the paring knife that was found at the scene belonged in the kitchen. The crime scene, they collected fingerprint evidence and found blood stains that did not belong to Marilyn, as well as hair from an unknown source as well. Okay. Now, the problem with the hair thing is an unknown source is fine, but hair is... that could be from one of their friends. And if they find Lane's hair there, he lives there. So it doesn't.
Yeah. Lane's blood and hair or semen or anything anywhere in the house, it's all there.
It's all there. Yeah. Anywhere, men out there, everywhere in your house is covered in your DNA. It just
Absolutely.
is. There's jizz you've somehow tracked somewhere. Yep. You've tracked blood somewhere that you cut your finger that time in the kitchen. It's a disaster.
You open the closet to grab a towel after. It's there.
It's there. So they have all of this, and they also found a cigarette butt on the scene in the apartment that doesn't belong to Lane or to Marilyn as well. That's another thing they found.
That's a good clue.
That's a decent clue as well. Now, nowadays, you could pull some DNA off of that bad boy.
Absolutely.
In 1980, DNA, well, it wasn't that it didn't exist, but we didn't know how to figure it out yet. And
at that point, we're just looking for the same brand.
Yeah, we're looking. Who smokes Camels? That's all we have. That's allowed. He smokes Camels. There's a camel there. Done. So now let's go over the suspect list. Okay. Yeah. At this point, it's a 2-person list.
That's it.
It's 2 people they're thinking about, and that's only because they got the second one from the first one, so it's all they have, okay? This isn't based on investigation on their own. This is based on what they're told by
Lane, and then
Lane.
Asking Lane who could she be angry with, and
pretty much. Yeah, that's what it is. So it's a lot of things here. Now, another thing, too, it doesn't happen right away, but Lane marries pretty shortly after this as well. He remarries, so that doesn't make him look great either, because this is going to drag on for a little bit, and him getting remarried
it's not Carolyn.
Pretty quick is it's not Carolyn. You look just like her. I love you. That would be if I had I couldn't do it. If I had a wife that I loved and someone murdered her, I would never want to see her identical twin sister. Never. Ever. I'd be like, never come in my sight line. It's just, it's horrifying. It would be like seeing a ghost. It would make me cry. I'd fucking break every time I saw her, I would cry.
The good news for the baby is we could just tell that baby forever that this is his mom. Even a DNA test will prove it.
Yeah. That's your mom. We'll take a test then, you motherfucker. That's right. That's your mom.
Did you see that story? There are 2 twins that met each other. So 2 men that are twins, 2 women that are twins. They married each other. The brother and sister married each other. They both have children. The babies have the exact same DNA.
It's weird, isn't it?
That's fucking creepy.
It's the same thing. Yeah. So now
that's incest, right?
Now there's 4 of them walking around with the same DNA.
And they all live in the same house.
No, I'd keep track of those people like crazy because I'm like, you're not going to go out and do bad things and leave my DNA everywhere. I swear to God.
That is dangerous.
We'd live in a house like it was that Big Brother reality show. I want cameras on everyone at all times. I don't know what you're doing. Keep track of your phone and your messages.
So gross.
Oh, that's bad stuff. Hey, everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about a healthy, delicious item, Hero Bread. And we're both trying to get healthier this new year. Jimmy had a eye-opening doctor's appointment and things like that. So we're trying to get healthier, and I'm telling you right now, this Hero Bread is a good step in this direction. It's delicious, and it is really good for you, and it's really excellent. They have the sliced bread is good, the bagels, the tortillas. I know you've been
they're terrific.
Ranting about the tortillas. They're so good. With Hero Bread, you can focus on your health goals and still indulge in the soft, fluffy experience you love, but guilt-free. I really love the little Hawaiian rolls, too.
Yeah.
They're so good. They're so good. The Hawaiian rolls, they're legit. They're fluffy. Yeah. They're exactly how you want them to be. You'd never know it's low-carb and high-fiber bread from the texture. You get the soft, fluffy experience you know and love with your savory breakfast sandwich, late-night grilled cheese, Taco Tuesday. Do it. No compromises, just flavor, ultra-low net carbs, 0 grams of sugar, high in fiber. It's fantastic. Hero Bread is offering 10% off your order. Go to hero.co and use the code SmallTownMurder at checkout. That's SmallTownMurder at HERO.co.
And now back to the show.
Hey, everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show and tell you all sorts of good stuff about Chime. That's what I'm talking about. There's so many extra fees you have to pay in life. Everything. You go to the airline, there's an extra ticket on that. There's extra fee on every fees and fees, hotels, fees, all this type of stuff. We're trying to make progress, and the next thing you know, here comes another fee coming at you, and it's more money than you expected, and your whole math is thrown off, and it's awful. Learn more at chime.com/smalltownmurder. Chime is great with that stuff. I mean, you can't beat if your things are a little tight, especially around the holidays or after the holidays. Yeah. You need that money a couple days early, or you go grocery shopping. You got a car payment due. There's so many things that don't cross over exactly how you want them to cross over. Make progress toward a better financial future with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/smalltownmurder. That's chime.com/smalltownmurder. Feels like progress. Banking services and debit cards provided by Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A., members FDIC. Spot me eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in Spot Me and are subject to monthly limits. Timing depends on submission of payment file. Fees apply at out-of-network ATMs.
And now back to the show.
So, there's that. There's the insurance policy, so that's not good. And so they show Lane photos. They go, okay, here's your house, because they had a picture of the living room before, everything happened a couple days before that. And then they have a picture of it when he got home from work. And they go, does anything look different in here to you? Like, can you see anything different? Because it's your house. You would know little things where it would be. And he noticed a few things. Number one, his lunchbox is on the living room floor where he dropped it after seeing his wife's body, which, duh. Okay, we get that. And a bar of soap is in a sink instead of in the soap dish where it would normally be. Okay. That's some eagle eyes seeing that in a picture, by the way. That soap is misplaced. Yeah. So misplaced soap is a thing, though. And if you murdered someone and you needed to wash up, maybe you wouldn't place the soap back in the soap dish all nicely.
Yeah, if it's hasty, yeah.
That's one of the things you would think of. Now, he said that he's the one who told them that knife is from our kitchen. I know that knife. It's from there. They said, was the apartment door locked when you returned home from work? This is very important, Lane. And he said, I can only speculate that it was. They said, what the fuck does that mean, bro?
That's a bad answer.
And he said, that's what I mean. All of these things are not helping him. The insurance, his answers are all weird. None of this is helping this guy very much in his own way. So he said, I can only speculate that it was. And he said that he used the key in the doorknob, assuming that the door was locked. So if it wasn't locked, it wouldn't have mattered because he was going to turn it with the key anyway. So
okay.
That makes sense, honestly. A lot of apartment doors, if it's unlocked, though, it'll just kind of open with the key, like it'll turn also. You know what I'm saying? Rather than go. But it might not be this door, so we don't know. Yeah. So another door to the apartment, which was located in their bedroom, had a bolt lock on it that was locked, and it was blocked by a piece of furniture that was not like to keep people out, but it was a piece of furniture in front of the door that you'd have to move, and that wasn't the point of entry. Basically, it would have had to have been a lot of things moved aside for that to get in there. So he said that now and then he would tell Marilyn to chain the front door, or now and then she would chain the front door and lock it. Which would then he would get home, open the door, and hit the chain and go, God damn it. He'd have to knock, and she'd have to get out of bed and come unlock the door. So he said that he instructed her to lock it, but stop chaining the goddamn door because I can't get in. And he said, quote, I regret that decision now.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I bet. So anyway, they're running down his alibi. They're trying to figure out what he did. They said, listen, do you know anyone else on earth that would have it in for your sweet 3-month-old child mother, 18? She's only 18. She hasn't had enough time to piss on.
Yeah.
How much time has she had to piss anybody off yet? Like, It's not like she's had a feud with someone over like business losses for the last 20 years, or she was running for office or something. Like, she's 18 years old with a young baby. Who the fuck could she possibly be have that kind of enemy with? And he said, the only thing I can think of, the only guy who could possibly have done this would be one of my best friends. Which, why would you be best friends with someone who is the first person that comes to your mind when your wife is raped and bludgeoned and stabbed to death?
That's an excellent question.
That's
why is that guy in your life?
Why is he in your life? Anyone who I'm concerned that whoever you meet, think about, if my significant other was raped and brutally murdered and all this shit, would I consider them a suspect immediately? If the answer is yes, don't be friends with that person.
Especially if they're the first and only.
That's the only one I can think of. And he said, that's one of my best friends, Curtis Forbes, like the magazine. He said, Forbes, they said, well, why would Kurt Forbes kill your wife? And he said, I believe that Kurt Forbes had a crush on Marilyn, is what he says. And his girlfriend just left him, and he was out on the prowl that night.
Wow.
So he's saying he thinks that he was looking for some strange out there and couldn't come across it, so he decided to go over and rape and kill my wife instead, that's a jump.
That's a hell of a leap. And if a friend that you have, that's not a leap, holy shit, man. What are you doing?
Yeah, if that seems like a reasonable analysis, that's a really bad friend there. So anyway, they check into him. His work shift ran from 11 p.m. on March 10th to 7 a.m. March 11th.
Yeah.
That's how it went. He says that I stood in the doorway because they said, why'd you call your mother and not the police? Was the first question they asked him. Yeah. Why'd you call your mom? Your mom's not the police or the medical people, or why would you call them? Why would you call her? And he said, quote, I stood in the doorway trying to accept what I was seeing. I touched Marilyn's wrist. And they said, okay, why'd you call your mom, though, to tell her that? That seems odd. And his quote is, quote, I didn't know what the police number was. I was not in a state of mind to look up a number. I asked Mom to call the police for me.
It's always 911, right?
There were towns that, because I remember the Dutchess County in New York didn't have 911 till like 1994 or some shit. It was crazy. There was some weird glitch where they were fighting about it. The local fucking it was the craziest thing. So we didn't have 911 forever. But you know how you can get the number to the police station without looking it up? You go 0. You just call the operator back. Yeah. Operator, connect me to the police, please. My wife's on the floor with a fucking knife sticking out of her chest. Oh, right away. There you go. You got the cops. But I get it. I've never walked in on my beloved in that state. So I don't know. Yeah. And with a kid in my arms and not knowing what to do, I don't know what you would do. I really don't. Who knows?
I have recurring nightmares where I in the panic, I am unable to function correctly.
Everybody does.
And in those moments where I've needed, I've panicked and not been able to do whatever it was I needed to do.
There you go. Well, maybe Lane does the same thing.
Maybe he's telling the truth, but that's still questionable.
You don't know. But this is the type of thing, if you've seen like anything like the Staircase documentary, not the fucking show that's on, the actual documentary, if you've seen that, They attack everything Michael Peterson did. Well, why'd you do that? Well, why'd you call then? Well, why'd you say that when you called? And these are the reasons why they found him guilty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
in the moment, it felt right.
Any proof of it? Yeah, that's what I thought I should do. I don't know. Yeah. They attacked how he said it. Oh, my wife fell down the stairs. That they went up. He's saying a narrative right away. He didn't say my wife needs medical help, which is what you would normally say. So it's that sort of deal. But I guess, I don't know. Anyway, they said that he said he didn't know the police number, and that was that. So, I mean, like I said, give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he panicked and his mind was in. Your mind would melt if you saw that, probably. And you're a regular person who's never seen that before. I don't know. He's not like he's just got back from Nam or something. Like he's just a kid who works at a paper factory.
Even then, being robbed at gunpoint, I didn't have the wherewithal to call the police. I didn't know how. You know what I mean? And I didn't even see a dead body. So of somebody
the person
close
you love,
to me,
right? And worry, oh my God, is my son murdered also?
Right.
So who knows here? So anyway, they do all of that. Like I said, they show him all the photos. He talks about the soap dish. He says maybe my buddy here. I don't know. They talk about the key in the lock, and that they keep going over that with him multiple times to make sure. Now, there's a guy named Ernest Smith who's a Wisconsin Division of Criminal Investigations guy here, and he conducted an interview and with another guy as his partner named Ray Kruziger. Okay, now Kruziger was married to Marilyn's twin sister Carolyn.
Oh boy!
So Marilyn's brother-in-law and Lane's brother-in-law is interrogating Lane.
That's weird. You can't do that.
You can't do that. That's not okay. That's not good at all.
It's a conflict of interest, and that gives Lane way too much comfort in that situation.
Well, even if he's not in the room, he can't be in the interrogation or in the investigation at all. He's got to be out. You can't do that. So if you have some inside knowledge, great. If not, you got to kind of step aside here. So they said that Kruziger described Lane's account of such things as where his wife was sitting when she was struck. So he says, I talked to her. He's an investigator, and he says, I talked to this other guy. I talked to the other investigator, and he told me that Lane said this. Mm-hmm. So Lane's brother-in-law is saying that Kruziger knew things about like where his wife was sitting when she was killed, that Lane said, quote, this is the guy talking about Lane, quote, he stated that her hair had been pulled, that there were bruises on her knees. So that's interesting. Now, Lane here, he says, quote, I've never felt that strong of a love since. It was pure. Marilyn was a living angel.
I'm sure.
That's what he says. Now, Darvin Gilbertson is another paper mill worker here. Yeah. He works at the paper plant, and he said that third shift workers took breaks at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Those are their breaks. He said that Lane worked in a different part of the plant than him, but he said all employees usually took breaks at the same time in a designated break room. So they all kind of just hung out in the break room because what are they going to do? Go stand outside in a fucking paper mill parking lot? I showed you that place. It's depressing. Right. You'd sit in the break room there. It's preferable to standing and looking at that place. So Gilbertson said at the 3 a.m. break, quote, I don't remember seeing McIntyre in the break room.
Uh-oh.
At the 3 a.m. break. So that's not great. Then they canvassed the neighborhood. Okay, canvassed the neighborhood, and they say they find out that a neighbor of theirs said that they heard Lane and Marilyn arguing between 10 and 11 p.m. that evening on the 10th before she was killed, before he went to work. Because he had to be there at 11. So between 10 and 11, they were arguing shortly before he went to work. And that's the same time they find out about the life insurance policy. And they're like, this is not good at all here. That's not great. What do we do there? So then they're like, what? We got to clear any enemies at all. Let's check out this Curtis Forbes guy, maybe. He's talking about this guy. Let's talk about him. They find out from multiple people that Forbes is good friends with Lane. Forbes and his girlfriend would hang out with them all the time. They would have couples things they would do. But Forbes had recently abused this woman. Debbie is her name. Yeah. He had recently abused her, and she, that week, had run to her parents' house to stay there, all right? And she had also, at other times, turned to Marilyn McIntyre for help.
Okay.
So
like, I don't know,
for
her everything
advice,
going on. Yeah.
And she's come there for refuge before.
Okay.
Also, she's ran to their house to say, blah, 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 showing up at the door crying.
He's doing it again. Yeah.
He's doing it again or whatever, or I'm scared of him, whatever the case is. So they said that Debbie had left Curtis Forbes a week before all this happened. And he said, Lane had told the cops maybe Forbes stopped by looking for Debbie because she's been here before. So that's all I can think of. If he stopped by looking for Debbie, Marilyn would probably open the door. She knows him really well. He's been there a million times. Like, she'd probably at least open the door to tell him that I don't know where Debbie is and, blah, blah, blah. So that's all they can think of. They said Lane said, quote, he should be your prime suspect.
Okay.
So to get he should be your prime suspect from your prime suspect at the time, or possible prime suspect, not saying he is one, but, the only person you know of at the time. So that's the only, by process of elimination only.
Yeah, and it's a logical, convincing idea in theory.
Especially if you hear they argued he took out a life insurance policy.
Yeah.
You're now looking for evidence of him now because that looks bad. But they're like, we got to check out Curtis Forbes. Like we said, him and his girlfriend Debbie were the, couple. They were their other couple hangout. When they did couple shit together. Mm-hmm. They went out frequently. Debbie said we'd play cards, we'd go fishing, we'd go out to eat. We got to be really close friends. Okay. But then, after a while, that's when Marilyn heard some shit about Kurt.
Shit, yeah.
Some foul shit. Now, they know each other. Kurt and Lane have known each other since like 4th grade.
Jesus.
They've known each other forever. Lane's a year older than Kurt. At first, they were enemies for years. In school, really? They would, Lane said they would get in fights all the time, all the way up until high school. They hated each other. And then for some reason in high school, it was like, God, we've gotten in so many fights. We might as well just be friends.
We punch each other so much. We should just be pals.
So they ended up being really good friends instead, like real tight all the way through high school and into they're in their 20s now. So there you go. So,
maybe Lane could tell his friend Kurt, hey, don't beat the shit out of your wife or girlfriend.
That would help.
Maybe stop that.
You know what chicks hate? When you beat them, usually. You should maybe not do that. And not,
be nice to her.
It's pretty fucked up when you do that, and they tend to not like it. So he said that, Debbie would turn to Marilyn for help. That's what Lane said. Yeah. So who knows what the hell's going on here? And maybe he blamed Marilyn for helping influence Debbie to leave him. We don't know. He might be lashing out. So Curtis Forbes gives hair samples. They say, well, can we have your hair samples? He does. So he's a person of interest, they call him right away here. Right. And he had left, a little bit about him. He left high school at the start of his junior year. So he's got a solid 10th grade education here. Interesting. He went into the Army, which I thought you'd have to at least go through your junior year to be able to go into the Army, right? Or GED or something. Don't they need a GED from you?
I think you got to get a GED. He probably got a GED and waited a little while because you've got to be at least 17, right?
That's what I thought. I figured that. I don't know, though. Yeah. Maybe if he failed 17, he's a junior, I guess. So either way, he served in Germany while in the Army for 2 years, starting in 1975. He returned and became a carpenter and a masonry contractor. Okay. So he had a partner, and he was doing all of that. That's what he was doing at this time. Later on, his wife starts a trucking company. It's really weird. So, really? Yeah. Anyway, Forbes, they knew each other from school really well. So, like we said, they became really good friends. And even Marilyn and Lane helped Curtis and Debbie paint their kitchen even. So, I mean, that's... Really? Your friends that come over to help you paint your kitchen, that's your close friends,
Painting party? I love it.
Yeah, painting, just the four of them, too.
Yeah.
So when they talked to Curtis Forbes, he says this is in October of 1980. That's how long until they talked to him. Months go by. This happened in March. He tells the police, well, on March 10th, I went out to dinner at a casino with my business partner, Randy Zander, and his wife as well. And traveling in their car because my truck was back in Columbus. Okay. So he said he had a couple of drinks. They said, were you drunk? And he said, I was feeling good, but I wasn't drunk at all. I just, had a couple of drinks with food,
Having
a good time. So they said, okay. So then Curtis Forbes said that he went to Marvin Dilley's home. Marvin Dilley. Went to his home in Fall River after leaving the Town Tap Bar in Columbus. Town with an E, old-timey. Yeah, so the Town Tap Bar, he said that Marvin wasn't there when he stopped by to see Marvin after he left the bar, but Marvin's sister, Lori, was there. So, and she's got something to say about that, too. So, he said he went back to Debbie's parents' residence where they were staying. He says no later than 2:30 a.m. is the way he put it. He was back there. Now, there is a discrepancy about when he arrived because he says no later than 2 a.m., but that was after he left the Town Tap Bar for 3 fucking hours, so God knows how shit-hammered he was if he knew what time it was.
Yeah.
Also, his wife and his in-laws all say that he didn't get there till about 4 a.m.
Oh.
So that's a big discrepancy in time here, and they believe she was killed, Marilyn, somewhere between 3 and 3:30. So, there you go. Now, they said that apparently Marilyn had told one of her friends, or her sister, that she had fended off a sexual advance by Curtis Forbes in the past. Like a year ago this happened. Yeah, like a while ago. But it happened. Like before they were married and she was pregnant and shit like that. They didn't get along at first, which was weird also. He was like mean to Marilyn. Yeah, it was very strange. He called her Little Miss Piggy.
What the fuck, man?
Yeah, very, very. He's a dick, dude. This guy's a dick. Yeah. So he's just kind of an asshole. So the times are a thing, and there's that he tried to come on to Marilyn, even though he was with a woman, and she was married. So that's strange. So they also interviewed William Forbes, who's Curtis's brother, and they said, does he have any weapons or anything like that he carries around? And he said, well, I mean, he used to carry a crescent wrench and a club made from a sawed-off oar under the front seat of his pickup truck.
Who carries those?
Who carries? I get a wrench
yeah.
or a bat. Who carries the sawed-off oar? Who carries that? That sounds like a really weird weapon. Just get a bat, bro. Fucking invest in a Louisville. What are you doing?
What am I going to do with this oar that I've got lying around? You know what I can do? I can saw it down and tuck it under my driver's seat.
Use it as a weapon. That's perfect.
Like a psychopath.
That is nice. So now William Forbes said that sometime after the murder, he doesn't know when because months have gone by, he said that he looked for the ore in the truck, but he couldn't find it. So he doesn't know when he took it out. It could have been 6 months before that. It could have been, he has no idea. They then said, William said, he and his other brother, Michael, found the club in a trailer somewhere. So it was somewhere to be found. Now, William said he doesn't think Curtis could have murdered Marilyn at all, but he was known to chase women. So, because they said, well, does he go after women? He goes, oh, he'll chase some women, but he ain't gonna kill none of them. That's all. That's what they said, basically. So, they said that before the year before, Curtis told William that he wanted to have an affair with Marilyn. He said, I won't have an affair with Marilyn right after she married Lane. So the brother knew that he definitely wanted to fuck Marilyn. That was out there. Like, he tried to fuck her is what I should say beforehand. And she was like,
good Lord.
No, thank you. We're good here. Jesus Christ. So now shortly after the murders, by the way, within a few months, and he ended up coming back, but he flees the state. He's gone. Curtis Forbes.
That looks terrible.
Takes off. Yeah. But at the same time, his girlfriend broke up with him. And he's got nothing else going on. People are whispering about him. Either way, he said that he went down to, he was back by October 1980 when they talked to him. They said, well, where were you? He said, I went down to New Orleans and worked on a shrimp trawler in Florida.
Okay.
So, and here I am now.
Yeah.
I gumped it up a little bit here.
Yeah.
So he did send some letters, though, while he was gone. These are amazing because I have them, and they're fucking great.
Oh, boy.
He sent a letter to Lane McIntyre and to his girlfriend, and they're wonderful. He said, this is the letter he sent to Lane McIntyre, okay? Quote, Dear Lane, I don't know how to express my sympathy for you at this time in your life. I don't want to go to jail for something I didn't do, so I have to leave. Because he heard the cops wanted to talk to him. I think the police have ideas about trying to incarcerate me for this, but I am not guilty. I hope you can believe me when I saw that I love you. That doesn't make any sense, but that's what it says. I hope you can believe me when I saw that I love you like a brother and would never hurt you in such a way. You're scared, confused, and true friend, Curtis. P.S. Maybe someday when they catch whoever it was, I can come back. So that's what he said. It's very confusing how he wrote it, but he's on the run, so who knows. Then he writes Debbie, okay? This is his girlfriend, Debbie, here.
The girl that broke up with him?
The girl that broke up with him, yeah. He says, quote, Dear Debbie, I just don't know what to say to you except that I love you very much and always will. I just don't want to go to jail for something I didn't do. There's way too much circumstantial evidence against me, so I have to go. That doesn't sound good.
No.
I hope you believe in me, and maybe someday when they catch whoever did it, I can come back. He's cutting and pasting a couple things here.
Sure is, yeah.
I will always love you and miss you very, very much. Don't cry over me, Deb. There's more fish in the pond. Sell my ring to pay off the bike, and here's $20 so you can come get your car. Bye, my love, Curtis. P.S. Your car is in Kenosha. Call the police to find it. The keys are under the mat and bring your other set. Oh, God, I love you so much, Deb. What a weird paragraph that is. To start a paragraph with your car is in Kenosha and end it with, oh, God, I love you so much, Deb, is a very long way to go in one sentence. He went a long way. So
that is a man on the run, man.
I would say so. So, yeah, following the death here, they found that apparently at one point Curtis and Debbie were engaged. They found a newspaper clipping in a scrapbook that was they were actually engaged at one point. They found it like from the Columbus Journal Republican newspaper. Okay. So they also said that Lane's sister here said that on the night of March 10th, she ran into Curtis at the bar, okay? And she said that he was trying to get in her pants, basically.
Her, yeah.
Is everybody related? Is everybody someone's brother-in-law, this one's sister, this one's this and that? This is so confusing.
It's worse when everybody's trying to fuck everybody.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And I have to go like, wait, they're not related, right? No, they're not. Okay, this one's in-law or whatever the hell.
But this is also what happens in small towns like this. It's so wild.
Everybody you've known, you've fingered their sister. It's just one of those things. It's really, you can't have friends where you've fingered all their sisters. It's just weird. That's what happens in small towns. It's very strange.
Yeah.
Makes for a real creepy times.
My friend in Idaho had to tell everybody that would come visit him, please don't try to fuck my sister.
Mm-hmm. I get that she's the only one here.
Yes, there's very few women there, and his sister's hot.
Man. So Rhonda here, the sister, she said that when she rejected Curtis's advance at the town tap on March 10th, told him to go away because I guess he said he had a pocket full of money for some reason, like he was going to pay her for it. I don't know if he was offering her like, how about a half and half, sweetheart? Like, no, I'm
decent proposal, yeah.
Yeah, she told him that he and his pocket full of money can go away, and then she reminded him that she was married also.
Yeah,
and she said she finally had to walk away when he tried to kiss her.
Oh my God,
he's being aggressive. Now, she also will say later on, Lane's sister, that Lane was crying hysterically and in a fetal position when she saw him that morning after learning of Marilyn McIntyre's death, that's normal, I would say. That's a normal response. Yeah. Absolutely is. So Lane, his friend Kenneth Peeler, said he also saw he knows everybody. He said he saw Curtis Forbes at the town tap, too, that night. He said that Peeler said that he would occasionally visit Marilyn McIntyre at the apartment while Lane was at work, like himself. There's a bunch of people. They're friends with. They know everybody, and people would just
coming over while
stopping
I'm at work?
by. Yep.
Stay away from my wife.
So Peeler said he would occasionally come by and visit, and she would lift up the curtain on the window of the door there to see who was there, and then let him inside. So there's a lot of people she would let inside. Apparently, plenty. Also, Lori is, Lori Dilly Beatty is her name. She is a sister of Forbes's friend Richard Dilly. Okay?
Yeah.
Dick Dilly. Dick Dilly.
Oh, my God.
So Dick Dilly and his sister Lori over here. Mm-hmm. Now, Lori says that Curtis, asked her for a date and made sexual advances toward her about 2 weeks before the murder.
Yeah.
He's just does not care.
It's trying to fuck everybody.
Everything that moves. She said that Curtis said that he and Debbie were no longer together at the time because they were like on and off constantly. She also said that Forbes stopped briefly at her apartment at 1:15 a.m. March 11th, 1980, and stayed for 5 minutes before leaving. She said he looked nervous. Almost like he was on speed or something was her exact quote, which is odd because looked nervous would be like that implies that she thinks like that he already killed her, but that didn't happen for hours, I thought. So why would he be nervous beforehand? Maybe he was nervous about knocking on your door and trying to get in your pants at 1:15 a.m. because he knows that's a bad bargain.
Yeah, 1:15 is a bad time to be asking for sex if you're already asleep.
He's knocking on the door of the library trying to sell encyclopedias, and they're like, "We got it. Don't need you. Not now."
He's knocking on the door hoping you're not asleep and then trying his pitch, and that's not fun.
No. And then I guess Curtis called her 2 days after Marilyn's death asking if she had talked to the police. Because a lot of people have, as we've heard, everyone in town has talked to the police. So Curtis told investigators that he had been at her apartment between 1 a.m. and 1:45 a.m. He doesn't know when. So Lori says that Curtis told her our stories don't fit. So that's you say I was there at 1:15. I say, you said 5 minutes. I said I was there longer, whatever. So then Michael Forbes, who is Curtis's brother as well, so many brothers in this, Jesus Christ. They talk about they work together construction wise, and they said that they're about approximately the same size. I don't know what that mattered, but the police concentrated on that for some reason. I don't know why. If they think maybe they're doppelgangers, he was there. I don't know what. It's a dumb thing to bring up, but either way, they said that. One of the investigators, Ernest Smith, said that he interviewed William Forbes there, And he's the one that got that quote. He mentioned he wanted to have an affair with Marilyn McIntyre. Boy, I sure would like to have an affair with my friend's wife. I'll tell you something.
What a weird thing to say out loud.
They also said that apparently Michael Forbes told the investigators that Curtis Forbes took $2,000 in cash from the construction business that the brothers shared when Forbes left Wisconsin. So he swiped $2,000 and ran away to New Orleans to go on a fishing trawler. He said the missing cash put the business in a tight spot, and that Michael had to repay the $2,000 because it was for people's jobs, basically. It was for materials and shit.
Your construction site is floundering.
I don't think they're putting up skyscrapers here. I think $2,000 in Wisconsin in 1980 was a shitload of money too. I think that was a lot to fuck up. They didn't have an extra $10,000, with inflation. So they said that Forbes said that he did the dinner with the friends at the casino. Then he went to 2 taverns in Columbus, the Town Tap and somewhere else, till about 1 a.m. Then he visited with friends Lori Dilly and Charles Hughes, which was he tried to fuck Lori Dilly. Right. And then he said for about 15 to 20 minutes till about 1:30. Then he arrived at Debbie's parents' house at around 2. He said his truck was in a parking lot off Ludington Street near the Fireman's Tavern, which was the second place he was.
What?
Which is about 2 blocks from the apartment.
Yeah, that's not good.
Our people here, of the McIntyres. So, but that's where the bar is. It's a small town. So he also Forbes told the cops that he did not drive past the McIntyres' apartment at any time that evening. And during this interview, they told Forbes that he wasn't told he was a suspect. There was none of that shit. So they were just treating him as a witness. Did you see anything that night? You were close by. Did you drive by there? No, I hadn't seen anything. Do you know them? Do you know of anything? It's one of those deals. So they don't even really interview him as a suspect. So anyway, he left for about 2.5 months when he took off from town here till everything cooled down. Forbes said that the reason he left was because his fiancée had moved back in with her parents due to a family crisis at the time. The family crisis was that he was beating the shit out of her and trying to fuck everybody in town.
Yeah, that's not a family crisis. She moved back in because I'm a piece of shit.
I'm a scumbag. Yeah. He also says that he didn't want to live alone in the big house that he shared with her. And he also said, small bills were just piling up. And he said he was getting a feeling that he was going nowhere, and he felt total uselessness. And his mind was feeling sour after being with Debbie for 2 years. So he needed to go clear his mind and get out of here. Okay. So, And then he, said, I sent letters and all that. And obviously I'm not guilty. See, I sent letters saying I'm not guilty in one of them. Did you read that? I am not guilty. I think that pretty much... I said it twice, and I mentioned other words all plenty in a sentence, and that's how it worked.
I gave descriptions to a car that was far away, like a murderer does.
I said, do that, and here's $20, and things are under floor mats, and it sounded pretty shady, right? That's what I thought. So anyway, they said that Forbes all stayed with a friend of his in Chicago for a minute before leaving for Florida to be on a fishing boat there. So Forbes' friend Richard Dilly, Dick Dilly over here, he said that when Forbes returned to Wisconsin in the fall after being gone a couple months, he had longer hair and a beard. And Dilly said that he didn't think he would have even recognized him if he didn't, come to his house, basically. If you saw him on the street, he'd have walked right past him. He looked so different. So to run away and change your appearance looks terrible after someone's been murdered.
Sure does.
That doesn't look good at all. So his alibi, though, is I was out drinking. I saw my friend. I tried to fuck her, obviously, even though I know her boyfriend really well. Still tried to bang her. Tried to bang my friend's sister, who's also married. She rejected me. And then I went to my girlfriend's parents' house because she left me because I beat her. Does that sound good? How's that?
And when all else failed, I figured, fuck it, I'll be a pirate.
Oh, my God. So, he was unable to account for the time. He says, no, I think I got there at 2, and Debbie says, no, it was 4. So he's unable to account for those 2 hours other than, I don't know, I was drunk. I guess my times are screwed up. I have no idea. Now, they did test the sawed-off boat oar that they found in that trailer that his brothers found. It was tested in 1981, in August of 81. So the testing back then, not terrific.
What does that testing do? Just find out that it's made of wood?
Looking for blood and hair or fibers that might have soaked in. But like we said, there's no DNA that you're going to get from under a splinter or anything here. So, but it lacked specific scientific evidence such as blood, hair, or fibers to connect it with the scene. So can't connect that with the scene. They said the sweater that he wore that night, that witnesses said he was wearing at the bar, was examined by authorities in March of 1980, so right after this whole thing. And it was returned to him several weeks later. So can't imagine that's part of the crime if they returned it to him. Later on, a person representing him said, quote, "You'd think there'd be something as blood or fiber given the violence of the murder. If it had any evidentiary value whatsoever, they wouldn't have returned it to him." Right. Which makes sense. Also, the pickup truck he was driving was searched thoroughly 2 days after the murder, and there was no report of any evidence connecting it to the crime scene then.
Whoever did it would have been soaked in blood.
Soaked in blood. But then again, we're going back to OJ now, too. Right. This is the OJ thing of only a little. But even then, even OJ had a little bit of blood.
Yep.
It was clean. I mean, even if you clean it, man, it would be so hard to get every little drop. Yeah, they still had black lights back then and shit like that. Luminol. I mean, they had all that in the 80s. So now, Marilyn's brother-in-law, okay? Jesus Christ, one of her sister's husbands here. This is Gerald Neese. He says, quote, according to Lane, this is something he heard from Lane, this is a statement he makes to the police here, that when Lane first introduced Marilyn to Kurt Forbes, Kurt referred to Marilyn as, quote, that little piggy, which is like Charles Manson language. It's weird to say. It's a weird thing to say.
Right. It's also
he might have just read Helter Skelter. It came out in the 70s.
Yeah. It's also something that poonhounds call, you know what I mean?
Is it?
It's words.
Well, that's not an insult.
It's certainly an insult.
Is that like fine looking wool or something? Is that like one of those?
It's certainly an insult. It's like going ugly early.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's just saying, like, I don't know, like if there's nobody else, I'll tag the piggy. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Oh, man.
That's what it feels like.
I guess, wow. So I guess Lane said that when he told Marilyn what Curtis had said, which I wouldn't do. I wouldn't go, hey, my friend called you a pig. That's not nice. No. I guess she was mad at Curtis for a long time. So she didn't want to hang out with them for a long time. This guy, Gerald, also indicated that she eventually got over being mad at him and would talk with him and be comfortable around him until recently when she heard reports that he would beat his girlfriend, Debbie, and that because of those beatings, she was again mad at him. So she's come back around full circle here.
Pig and beats my friend.
Yeah. Another guy here, he is married to Rhonda McIntyre. This is the woman from the bar that he tried to bang in the bar. This is her husband. Seidlinger is his name. He's married to, like I said, Lane here. He's married to Lane's sister. This is so confusing.
Yeah, I think that's illegal in Wisconsin at this time.
Yeah, at least in Wisconsin. I mean, I can't say for everywhere. So Seidlinger indicated that he's a welder. And he works the second shift, 3:30 p.m. until midnight. He said he's been employed for a year. This is his whole affidavit. He says that he finished work on Monday night approximately midnight and arrived back in Columbus at approximately 12:35 a.m. March 11th, 1980, so about 3 hours before the murder.
Yeah.
He stated, what they think anyway, he states that he recalls looking at the bank clock in Columbus on that night, as he does most every night as he returns from work. He said that in driving through town, he observed his wife's car at the Town Tap Tavern, but that because of his dirty appearance, because he just got off of work, that's why I told you what he was doing, he didn't stop at the tavern, but instead just went home. In doing so, he passes right by the McIntyre residence, which you have to, apparently to go anywhere, you have to pass by their house. It's a weird place to murder somebody. So he drove past the residence at about 12:35 and observed at the time that the lights to the resident were off, and he stated that he did not see their dog on the front porch area of the home at that time like he was later. He also indicated that he did not see Lane McIntyre's car or any other automobile there at the time. He said he went home, took a bath, ate some food. He said about 1 a.m. he watched the television show Black Sheep Squadron.
What?
I don't know what that is. It sounds like one of a bad 70s action show. And that lasted till about 2 a.m., at which time he went to bed. He said that about 3 a.m. in the morning, or 3 a.m., that's how he put it anyway, 3 a.m. in the morning, I hate when people do that, he was awakened by his dog, who had not been feeling well, or a clock on the mantle that chimes on the hour. He didn't know which one, but he noticed that his wife wasn't home yet at 3 a.m. So he said he was worried, and he indicated that she frequently doesn't come home right after the bar is closed, but usually calls him if she's going to hang out and bullshit. So he said that he turned on the radio at that time, believing that the television stations were no longer on the air, because it's back then, pre-cable, and he had a soda. Said he had a soda, and then he noticed the digital clock read 3:15 a.m. So he stated that he left the house between 3:15 and 3:20 a.m. looking for his wife, okay? He said that he had very little gas in his car and didn't want to have to drive too great a distance, so he indicated that he went past the McIntyre home again at the time when they say the murder happened, okay? Right. This guy is saying, I was driving past the house, which is...
He put himself on the scene.
He drove past the house and observed that at this time the lights were on and the dog was outside in the yard.
Oh.
So, yes, according to him, there was a red Nova or Pontiac with a black vinyl top with mag wheels. He said it was jacked up a little bit in the rear end parking. Was jacked up in the rear end.
Yeah.
It was parked on Prairie Street, which is down the street. He wasn't like right in front of the house or anything like that. So he thought maybe Marilyn was up feeding the baby. Baby's 3 months old. They still wake up, a lot of them at that age. Or the dog had to shit, or who knows, you know. And he said he didn't pay much attention to the lights being on. He did indicate that if he had suspected anything was wrong, that he would have stopped and gone in. He said that he drove past the Town Tap Tavern, turned around, did not see his wife's car, and drove back home. So no one saw him, dude. He just went. He said, I went out, drove past it, turned around, and came home. So I saw the lights and stuff, but no one saw me. So he said this time he didn't go past the McIntyre residence. He went a different direction. But he just said he didn't have a lot of gas, and so he went on that doesn't make sense.
I'm going to go on a tour around town.
Yeah, well, maybe he was looking for his wife. Yeah. He stated that he does not remember looking at the clock again when he got home. This guy's been always a clock glancer before this. But that he got that that he went to bed and was again awakened at approximately 4:15 by his dog being sick. He said at that time he heard a car and looked out the window and saw his wife was being dropped off by her sister, who is one of Lane's other sisters, who's also named Debbie. Holy shit. But not Curtis's Debbie, a different Debbie. I hope you guys got your charts here, because this is
there's so many people.
These fucking small town family trees, man, they're so hard to keep track of. This is brutal. So it was hard for me to really get an umbrella, overview of this thing.
I really enjoy my life because if I ever had to tell a story with cast of characters, it would be so quick.
So much simpler than
Nobody would be confused ever. They'd know exactly who everybody is.
That's my brother's wife, who's also now her sister's married to my other cousin. And then my cousin's brother, he actually married my wife's cousin.
This is how recessive genes are
the fuck is happening?
Showcased in children. Stop it.
Stop. My God, it's a mess. So... Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit about Sono Bello. You know, the most known secret with celebrities and influencers and all these famous people is so many of them have had lipo. They've had lipo, whether it's a little touch up here or a total makeover. Yeah. Nobody has a perfect body. That's the thing. No. They may look like it on TV, but there's things that help that. Absolutely. Lipo now has changed, and Sono Bello's been at the forefront with using LAL technology and getting those beautiful and natural outcomes for each person. Looking real natural. Our friends at Sono Bello are offering their best deal. You're now included in their winter savings event, but appointments are limited, so please get on this. Sono Bello doctors are masters in micro-laser fat removal, a brilliant technique that removes stubborn fat permanently. Wherever your problem areas are, tummy, love handles, thighs, arms, it's gone in one comfortable visit. Eating healthy and workouts are great. Keep doing that, but if you want to lose that stubborn fat in one visit, check out Sono Bello. Save big during their winter savings event. Schedule your free consultation now at sonobello.com/smalltownmurder. That's sonobello.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit more about our stylish friends at Quince. That's right, let's go elevate your styles, people. Yeah. Get it going, look good out there, and you can do it now without breaking your wallet, without breaking the bank, because at Quince, you can get high-end, versatile pieces at prices we can all actually afford, which is very nice. You want to get good stuff that lasts and it's good, and they have quality stuff that's very affordable, and you can do like we did, upgrading our stuff here, while still being a very reasonable price. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes. It's all quality stuff. You're going to love it. Trust us, it looks good. And I've got the leather jacket. It's a very high-quality item. Real nice, soft leather. Yeah. Jimmy's got his linen pants he's rocking.
Yeah, they're terrific.
Come on, be like us. Be fashionable. Get in there with Quince. Indulge in affordable luxury. Go to quince.com/smalltownmurder for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/smalltownmurder to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
He said that his wife came in the house and then went to bed. He recalls about 7:20 a.m. Rhonda's mother, who is also Lane's mother,
right,
and his mother-in-law, Mildred is her name, came over to their house and informed them of Marilyn's death. So within 10 minutes of him calling her. This Seidlinger also states that he has only been over to Lane and Marilyn's home on 2 occasions. And he said that the last time, but he's close enough to drive by all the time. Yeah. He said the last time was at Christmas time to visit when they had the new baby. It was when the baby just came home. Yeah. He says that he did not stop at the McIntyre home on Monday night or Tuesday morning. He indicated he had nothing to do with Marilyn's death and does not know who did. He said the shades were always pulled on the McIntyre residence, but he could notice that the light around the shade, and he does not know whether there were any lights on in the upstairs apartment. And he said that it's not unusual for him to drive by the place because it's the middle of town. So
yeah,
that doesn't look great.
Not at all.
He's the only person so far who's admitted to being pretty much at the scene
right.
At the time it happened. Right. So that's not good. So 1981 comes along. Still nothing has happened here. No arrests. The city council approves a donation of $500 of city money to the Marilyn McIntyre Reward Fund. Well, that'll do it, I'm sure.
$500 ought to get some people.
$500. Oh, yeah. Boy. The reward will be given to anyone who can provide information about the murder. So I think up that a little bit. Let's chip in, everybody. Christ. So the case goes cold.
Wow.
They can't find anybody. There's nothing. They have these samples, these hair samples. They have blood samples.
Yeah.
The hair samples were destroyed when they were doing the ship, but there's still the coating of it they still have, so they can work something out there.
Oh, my God.
So back then, to test anything, too, you had to have a giant sample or it would be destroyed. That was just the way it was. I mean, remember the Russell Williams interrogation? They're like, back in the day, you need like a half a cup of blood. I was like, no, you didn't, but that's fine.
Yeah.
So the case goes cold for about 22 years.
Stop this.
Nothing happens until 2003.
Oh, my.
Now, during this time, Lane has married and divorced twice more.
Jesus.
His son has stopped talking to him.
Really?
And everybody in town gives him glances that's the guy who killed his wife.
Really?
He's, quote, the guy who killed his wife, like to a lot of gossipy people at the supermarket and all that shit. That's that guy. You didn't know about that? About 20 years ago, his wife died. He came home. He was at work. And I'm sure they exaggerate details to make him sound guilty and all that kind of shit. So it's 2003 that Columbus police find... How much evidence storage could there be at the Columbus, Wisconsin Police Department? How much, you think?
Stumble across something that they accidentally lost?
Wow. They find a box of evidence in a storage closet and decide to send whatever DNA samples were there to the state crime lab just to see what happens.
What is this? Well, I don't know. Send it to, let's 23andMe it.
That's shit. Let's see what's going on. Someday we're going to be able to do something with this. Now, the Ron family here, Carolyn, her identical twin here, she said obviously her world was torn apart by this. This was terrible. She said, since the last 20 years, she said, quote, it was hell. I turned to alcohol. My marriage failed. I wasn't there for my children.
Oh,
Jesus Christ, you poor thing. That's horrible. She said this just destroyed her life. She says, I think Carolyn's daughter said, quote, I think she feels like when Marilyn died, a big part of her died. Twins are weird. That's a weird thing. So she said her daughter, Tara, was born a year after Marilyn died. So she never met her, actually. Yeah. But she says, my first memories are seeing my mom crying on the phone about Marilyn. So this was something her whole life that was like this big looming thing. Your mom's dead, murdered sister that they've never found the killer, and it's terrifying.
If it's her first memories, she was probably 4 or 5, maybe 6, maybe even a little bit older. And for at least 5 or 6 years afterwards, she was inconsolable on the phone still.
It's awful. It is. It's fucking awful. And then through all of this too, the fact that no other murders happened. Because they were like, well, it's either the husband or some crazy psychopath going. That's what the people in town said. They'd be like, well, it's either the husband or some psychopath. I didn't see no other murders happening, so that made Lane more guilty in the eyes of these townspeople with no evidence whatsoever. That was just what they were thinking here. They said that as Tara grew up, she saw her mother constantly try to have efforts to convince the Columbus Police Department to reopen the case, and they never did. Yeah. So Carolyn said, quote, I couldn't tell you how many detectives we went through. We didn't know where else to go or where else to turn. So, like we said, Lane, 2 marriages fall apart. Son won't talk to him. Same thing. He says, quote, I've been an innocent man persecuted all these years. I've had this dark cloud hanging over my head and I've done nothing wrong. That's Lane. Christopher, this is sad. The son, Christopher, he didn't even know about it till he was 10 years old.
What?
He thought that his stepmom was his mom.
You can't do that to people. No. God damn it. Stop doing this.
He thought his stepmom was his mom, and he thought he had the most idyllic upbringing. He's small town Wisconsin, and he's got these 2 parents that love him, and everything's great.
And then he found out what's
safe.
Yeah.
He said, and then when he was about 10 years old, his father sat him down, decided to tell him the truth about what was going on. And he said, listen, your mom isn't really your real mom, not your birth mom anyway. She's been like a mother to you. And I could see, by the way, faulting Lane for getting married right away, I think is a load of shit, because he's got a 3-month-old son, and a 23-year-old guy in 1980 has no fucking idea what to do with a 3-month-old son. No idea what to do with a 3-month-old son. They'd be like, I got to get married ASAP. So I can get somebody to help me with this kid. That's what they would do. I can't afford a maid. I better get married. That was like what a guy would think in 1980. Yeah, someone who'll help me here. So Christopher said that just destroyed his world, obviously. Yeah. He said, quote, I guess I was about 9 or 10. That's when my father decided to let me know. The woman I thought was my mother, I found out was not my real mother. He told me, you'll never meet your real mom. She's gone. So he found out that she was murdered, and later on, Lane says, I was waiting for him to get a little bit older so he could understand. And for Christopher, he said the truth was confusing and difficult to hear. He just didn't understand what was going on. There's no good way to do that, by the way.
No. I think the only way is to really just show the kid pictures of her, as a child, as a fucking real small child.
This is your mom, so they always know that. That would be the only way to do it, because otherwise, and even that might fucking make them really weird and morbid and shit. You know what I mean?
You got to tell them, though, right away, because they got to know who they are.
Preschool going, you want to see a picture of my dead mom with a big smile because they're used to it and it's normal?
You don't give them to take it home with them or take it out with them.
Creepy shit like that. Like, it would fuck the kid up a little bit, but it might be the healthiest in the long run, though. I think you're probably right
least,
there. So,
you don't necessarily have to tell them that she was murdered, but you can tell them that mommy passed away. You know what I mean? And then later on tell them how when they can handle that part. But you don't necessarily have to hide who they are, because that's what it is. An identity is fake the mom. Fucking everything. Yeah.
To be like, you're everything that you thought was in this world solid and secure isn't anymore.
Right.
Actually,
it's the Truman Show at that point. Just
no one
nobody's watching.
To hear that's not actually your real mom is a crazy thing for anybody.
Fucked up.
That's a fucked up thing. So
that's what sent Manson off the deep end.
Well, it was a little more than that.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a trigger to when he found out that his real life was not his real life.
If he found that out and then everybody was nice to him, though, he'd end up like Christopher instead of like Charles Manson. That's the difference, though. Because Christopher, then they were still nice to him and people supported him, whereas Charles Manson, they sent him to live with psychotic people who abused him and told him bad shit and dressed him up weird and sent him to juvenile hall when he was 7 to get raped. And thank God Christopher didn't have that happen to him.
And granted, Christopher's mom was a good person, and Charles Manson's mom was a fucking nightmare.
A little different upbringings, a little bit different here. At least he had a stable home with two people who cared about him when he found out. So he had a support system to be upset in, at least. So as he grew up a little bit, though, he would hear more about his mother's case. He looked into it. He was trying to find out about his mom's murder, as most people would probably. Yeah. That's when he came across how everybody was saying his father did it.
Oh, damn it.
So he started to think his father did it. Yeah. He said he never had directly asked his dad if he had a hand in it because it was such a difficult thing to do, but because everyone said it and they never caught anybody, he just assumed that's it. So he said by the time he was 15, it had grown to be such a huge thing that Christopher just moved out. He left when he was 15. He left home because he couldn't trust that his dad didn't murder his mom in his mind. So it's fucking crazy. So anyway, they have they're still looking into this. 2003 is when they find the evidence. Late 2007, they still done nothing with it.
Oh my God.
4 years later, members of Marilyn's family, on their, every once in a while they call the cops. They call and they say, "We haven't heard anything in years. Will you fucking reopen this case?" Because this is 2007. You're hearing DNA solving cases everywhere now. Yeah. It's like, can you maybe try to solve my sister's case, possibly? Anything. What the fuck, man? Try this shit. So I guess, they did that. They made a phone call. This is her niece, Tara, made a phone call, and she said it was actually the wrong number she called, which is weird, but it worked. She said, quote, "I thought I was calling the Columbus Police Department, and instead it was the number to the Columbia County Sheriff's Department." So instead of calling the small town fucking police force, they called the county people who are probably way more competent at doing shit like this. He said, the detective here, this is fucking crazy. The people who actually solved the goddamn thing, Wayne Smith is his name. He's a detective lieutenant. He said, quote, "I had never heard that there was an unsolved homicide within the county. It wasn't in our record system."
Had no idea.
So they found a box of evidence and were like, that's weird. And then sat there for years. Didn't even go, we should maybe see if the county guys want to give this a crack. They didn't even it wasn't even in the system. That's how little they looked into it, bro.
Damn it.
Think about that. They didn't even ask like the county people, hey, has there been similar homicides at all in the last 20 years that we can compare this to? Basic police investigative work they don't fucking do.
Stunning.
Pathetic. That is, sadly, it's not stunning on this show. How many fucking times have we heard this?
Far too common.
At least the mayor didn't come and like trample all the blood evidence. That's the only thing saving grace here to this fucking town. So, but the county people, they're trying hard here. So after reviewing this case, the detective Lieutenant Smith here said that let's reopen this investigation. They've fucked everything up from jump here. So what are we doing? Carolyn, the sister twin, said, quote, "You could tell right away that they cared, and they seemed shocked that it had gone on this long." Yeah. They said these county people said everything except that police force is a pile of shit. Anything you need, call us. Do not call them because it's just sad. So anyway, they said fucking whatever. They started from scratch with a complete reinvestigation, basically. Yeah. They said they started with, who's your sister? Let's talk about that. Start from scratch. So February 21st, 2008, still not solved. 27 years later.
Damn it.
Still not solved. The Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory conducts DNA evidence from the case here, finally, even though they found it 5 years ago.
Yeah.
The report says that they found a DNA pattern developed from a stain or in the McIntyre's bathroom sink. Okay? That's where they're getting this from. And they say that Curtis Forbes is a, quote, possible contributor to this. Okay. Now, this is the problem, okay? It ends up being there's only about you know how it's usually like 700 billion to 1 chance, more people 20 times over than are on the planet or whatever. Yeah. It's a 98 to 1 chance that he's a contributor to it.
98 people to 1?
Yes, and there's 5,000 in the town. So,
that's not good.
Yeah, there's literally, 50 people walking around town that it could be. Just in this town that it could match. That could also match. So this is not close enough to say, oh, that lock and stock and barrel. Like, otherwise you have to investigate everybody else that it matches, and that's going to be millions, hundreds of thousands of people in the country.
Right.
So it's not going to work out very well. So now they try to match hair samples as well, but like I said, they were kind of fucked up. So what they're doing is they need to exhume her. They're going to pull her out of the ground after 27 years.
Oh, God.
Horrifying to think about that. So they said, fresh eyes, better DNA technology. Let's give it a whirl here. The one investigator said the family deserves a resolution to this case, and we are looking hard to get there. That's good. The sheriff's department also received a tip from an informant who was familiar about this whole deal. And the tip ended up having the wrong time frame, but had some interesting information that we'll talk about in a minute. So anyway, they have a partial match, I guess, a possible contributor.
Yeah.
So they're going to try to test material from her that they can exhume from DNA and hope there's more shit on there. They wanted something at it, but they couldn't really do anything. The body was in no condition to get anything out of it. It was just, it's so old. So it's been 27 years. They did say that they found artificial Lee press-on fingernails.
Okay,
they had that. The tips of the finger bones on the press-on nails were pretty intact because the elements
and glue,
it had protected them. They used it as a shield, basically. So they said that little piece of her finger we might be able to get something off of, and it turns out nothing. Couldn't get anything out of it. So it was very close. So, yeah, it's tough. The niece said, quote, we're happy that something's being done and very hopeful this will give us the answers that we need.
That is awful. They pulled her out of the ground, opened that casket for nothing, disturbed a grave, and damn it.
Pulled her out of the ground. The family had to go through all that, and they got nothing. But I mean, they had to. They had nothing else to go on, and you're grasping at straws. You can blame the Columbus guys for this. They could have fucking done that 15 years ago. Yeah. You know what I mean? She would have been in better shape, I'm sure. So they interviewed a person in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, as a person of interest. But then that didn't work out. They had an idea there. I guess there was another murder in that area that was similar around that time. So then they were concentrating on somebody close by. They said the tests we want to do weren't available before. Some different types of tests allow us to test some of the evidence that's not necessarily a blood stain. This is like contact DNA and skin cells and shit like that they're talking about. So they said, hopefully we can get it wrapped up quickly. He said, but we've got some lab work that's promising, and because of that, we're doing some additional lab work looking for additional corroborating evidence. So basically, they're like, okay, 98 to 1 isn't great, but if we have a whole bunch of corroborating evidence and it could be him scientifically, then that's enough, basically. Yes, we can make a case out of that. So Curtis, they want to talk to him again here. They find out during this time They pick up Curtis to talk to him. They also talk to Debbie, who, by the way, has now been married to him for 30 years.
Oh.
Debbie, who he beat and ran away to her mom's house, they got married shortly after that and have been together ever since.
Love story. Happy ending.
She runs, let's not go that far. She runs a trucking company that he works for and all this type of shit. Now, Debbie's interrogated by the police at this point. While she's interrogated by the police, they find out something very interesting, that Curtis not only was planning on relocating to Hawaii, but was planning on faking his own death.
Why would Curtis want to do that?
Just now. He's like, I got to fake my death and get out of here, which is very strange. Have you ever thought about faking your own death? Seriously? I mean, obviously it sounds good sometimes, but not.
Everybody's thought of it, but I would never. No, not serious.
Not like, how do I do this here?
No, I've thought about it in how could you, but not like how could I because I need to.
But they thought about that, and they were like, that's enough to bring him in for questioning, right? He wants to fake his own death. So they said he's built up a nest egg, and they were packing to leave when the cops came to their house.
Oh. Like
they were all packed up. Yeah. So I guess they're talking about, they asked him about the night before the murder when he hit on 2 women at the town tap and one at her home. That was the Lori woman there, and were rebuffed both times. They say, 2 days after the murder, we talked to you and you said the times and, blah, blah, blah. He denied hitting on any of the women, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said, they're all crazy. I don't know if I have an animal magnetism that women confuse sometimes for a come on, when really, I'm just saying hello, being a nice guy. It's just that they feel a magnetic attraction to me that I can't help. That's all it is. So,
it's called pheromones, Officer. Try 'em.
It's they're flying off of me like crazy. I wear this Old Spice. It's just the ladies come a-flocking. So Debbie, this is his wife, Debbie, she also gives out a new piece of information now, and that is that on the morning of March 11th, 1980, when she saw Curtis had blood splattered on his shirt.
Oh,
that's a new one. That would have been helpful 30 fucking years ago.
Yeah, what the fuck?
When he showed up at her house around 4 a.m., when she said she asked about it, and he just kind of blew her off. And also, her mother cleaned the bloody shirt that day. So he got something on his shirt. Will you clean it, Ma? You know how to get stains out, and she did it for her. So they also said that she told the cop she saw blood on a white shirt that he had on under his sweater. Then that was that day, because the sweater, remember, was cleared of everything.
It was clean,
that was clean. So she said it got on. Maybe he took the sweater off to murder her. That's a weird thing to do.
I don't know. You get sweaty.
You get a little sweaty. She said that he arrived at about 4 a.m. He was shaking and very agitated and had blood on his shirt and was unable to sleep. Like a murderer.
Yeah.
like a murderer does.
Like something real bad just happened.
Yeah. Debbie said that he made up an excuse that she didn't believe about the blood on his shirt, and that's how that went. Now, Marilyn's friend, Janice Young, she talked to cops on March 1st, 2009. Jesus, that's saying about a month before Marilyn's death that Janice Young had also pushed away sexual advances from Curtis Forbes.
Really?
He's tried to fuck everyone in that town. Jesus, what a scumbag. So I guess, they couldn't figure out where he was, that the times don't match. And then they get a big break. About 2002, okay, somebody comes forward. They don't come forward till later, but it's about a conversation that happened in 2002.
Yeah.
Forbes told this person that he, quote, got away with murder during a conversation.
Oh, Forbesy.
That's not good. A conversation about crimes turned to a discussion of DNA evidence and testing, making it impossible to get away with murder. They were talking about somebody's watched fucking Law and Order the night before.
Somebody
like
said,
this.
you can't do it now.
I tell you what, this William Peterson over here on the CSI, this guy'll get you every time. You can't get away with nothing now. Anything, I swear to God, one drop of sweat, they're gonna catch you. You know what I mean? So you can't get away with no more murders. Forget about it.
Catch everybody.
And he said, quote, and the quote is that Curtis said, quote, that's not true. I got away with it. Then later told. This is what he told the guy, though. He told the guy that he took a friend's wife home from a bar and then, quote, she never made it back home or never breathed again that night.
That's too much.
None of that happened, though.
No.
She did make it home, and she never was at a bar.
Right.
So this is the problem. When someone gives a statement to an informant, do you only take the part that's helpful to you and then get rid of the rest of it because it doesn't fit your narrative? What do you do then? You know what I mean?
I guess you can take
it as a different woman?
Yeah. Or is he just trying to impress people?
There you go. That's the other thing that you go to with that. So that's what happened. Also, he was being surveilled for months here in 2008, 2009. They were keeping Curtis under surveillance. And then it was revealed that he was contacting a carpenters union in Hawaii about getting a job there. And they said, quote, this is the prosecutor later on, will say, because of exhumation, Curtis began hatching a plan to fake his disappearance.
Oh, so he heard about the exhumation.
Yep, he heard about the exhumation, and he was going to go to Hawaii, but under a different name and try to fake his own death. They said that he planned on taking a boat along with an inflatable raft out into Lake Michigan and sinking the boat to make it look like he died in an accident, and then taking his raft over to the shore and then fleeing. That was the goal.
And so they'd never find his body, and then they just eventually declare him dead? Is that what
they'd assume it was just eaten by fish in the lake, and that's it. Or maybe he was going to have a fiery explosion. It must have burned to cinder in the air. We don't know, but that was his plan. So, that's really weird. Then they talked to his boss as well.
Yeah.
His boss, his name is Gary Bednar. He was his boss back in the day in 2002. Bednar said that after he plowed Forbes' driveway, he came over and plowed that driveway. You know what I'm talking about? That's a code for male, female. You know what I'm saying? So I plowed that driveway real nice. He said in 2002 that Forbes offered Bednar some weed, and they sat there smoking, and they were talking. You know, when you're smoking, things will come out. And he said that, they were talking, and Forbes told him, knowing that Bednar had spent time in prison on a homicide charge, he figured he'd talk to him. Yeah, this guy's also a murderer. Did I mention that?
Bednar, his boss, is a fucking murderer?
Yeah, he's a murderer also. So apparently he spent time in prison on a homicide charge.
Jesus.
It's not good. So Bednar says, quote, he told me I must not know how to get away with homicide because he's gotten away with murder. I don't know what the fuck you went to jail for.
Yeah, you idiot.
Forbes told him that he had once given a ride home to a woman, then had his way with her, then killed her. Again, this is not what happened, though.
It's a different story.
It's a different It's the same story he told the other guy, but about a different thing.
Does he have shame?
I would not be either that, or I would not be surprised. He just said I took her home and raped her and killed her. What was
it?
What
would
be the
woman?
That's what I mean. What would be the difference of I took her from a bar, raped her and killed her, or I knocked on her door and raped her and killed her? It's the same shit. So this is a different story that is specific to something else.
Right.
That doesn't mean that he didn't do this, but is he talking about a different woman? Does he killed another woman?
Oh boy.
That's what I mean. So and then he made the comment that, quote, she'd never needed a ride home again after that. Again, ride home is coming up everywhere. Yeah. She was in her home in her fucking nightgown. She was not out. No. So we know that. We know she didn't leave to go to the bar with a 3-month-old fucking baby in her nightgown. That's not going to happen. So now Bednar said he didn't believe Forbes at the time. He said, I was thinking at the time that he was high on dope and trying to impress me. But Forbes here, this is another Forbes, a different Forbes, one of the relatives. He said, quote, Bednar was never in the home, and he added that he never smelled marijuana, this is the son. This is Forbes' son. He said he'd never smelled marijuana or observed his father smoking marijuana in their home. Well, guess what? If you're a kid and your dad smokes weed, you're not going to fucking find him smoking weed, but you're the reason he smokes weed. Not you particularly, but fathers in general.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean he doesn't love you dearly. That's not the point. He just also needs to decompress for a minute because your voice makes his ears go and it hurts, even though he loves you. That's how fathers are. So March 2009 here. This is when Lane voluntarily offers a DNA sample to investigators, and they find that his DNA does not match in any of this.
Really?
Lane, okay?
In his DNA own house.
Not in the blood that they found.
Okay.
The blood evidence from that. He doesn't. That's not his blood. The shit in the sink.
Yeah.
Like Curtis is a possible contributor. Lane is not a contributor.
Absolutely
completely ruled out. But at the same time, who's to say that DNA is in the sink came from the murderer?
Truth. Yeah.
And not somebody that comes to their house all the time.
Right.
So that's the other problem with that. So Lane said, quote, 9 times out of 10, I too believe the husband did it, but I know what it's like to be the 1 out of 10. It was so untrue.
Oh, boy.
So he's like, trust me, it could happen. So they got blood, cheek swabs, and hair samples from Forbes, and there's still not enough evidence to arrest him. So that's when they did the exhumation and did all that shit. And they said even though the exhumation didn't yield any evidence, they didn't release that to the public. They just watched Curtis to see what he did. Make them think that we have all this evidence. Who knows? So Curtis in his interview here, again, they talk to him one more time here, and they tell him that his DNA was mixed with McIntyre's blood in samples taken from the scene.
Yeah.
So his DNA is in there, and he responded, quote, wow.
Uh-oh.
Which I don't know if that's a good or a bad response. If you didn't kill someone and they said your DNA was in there, you might go, I guess you'd go, huh? What? You wouldn't go, wow.
Yeah.
Wow is like, oh, I didn't know that. You just, what we found? We found an unclaimed property. You actually have a, $10,000 that was, wow. Okay. That would be a wow.
Yeah.
So then they talk about the cigarette as well in the apartment here. And they talk about that, and they said that had his DNA on it as well. The cigarette butt. When told of this, he said, yeah, I probably left. I was there 3 days before the murder. I left cigarette butts there. I smoked. So, yeah, there's definitely cigarette butts I left there. And that's true. So that really doesn't mean anything here. It's a problem with somebody who's in the house all the time. Just their presence in it doesn't mean that they're guilty, So he said, yeah, probably left it there then. So they said that witnesses hadn't seen him at the apartment for at least a week before the murder. He said, maybe I left it there a week. I don't know. It's possible.
Yeah.
And they said, is it possible you left the cigarette butt there after you killed her? And he said, I don't think so.
No, dude, no.
Which is a terrible answer to that
question. That's the wrong answer.
It's a very wrong answer. That's not good at all.
The only answer worse is yes.
It really is. So I probably would be a worse answer. So the detective said, what I'd like to do is go back to March 10th, 1980, that night. And he said, I was at the town tap for a little while, and then I left there. And they said, what time did you get home? And he still said 2 o'clock. So it's all about 2 o'clock. But anyway, they let him go from that interview, and then they work all their shit up, and they decide with the state's attorney, fuck it, let's charge him. So 6:27 a.m. on March 24th, 2009. Wow. They pull his ass over, do a traffic stop, and arrest him. Before they take him in, though, they take him to his house briefly, which is not at all protocol to do that.
Why would they do that?
To take a suspect to their home first. Then they take him to the sheriff's office, while other authorities remained at his house questioning his wife for more than 6 hours in their home. During which time they also conducted a search of the house, which they say was, okayed by Debbie and everybody. They found her computer and a flash drive, among other items that they took as evidence. And they're looking around trying to find anything they fucking can. They asked to enter the home, and like I said, they let him come in and do it. So now Debbie, 6.5 hours being questioned.
Yeah.
She says later on, though, that she did not believe she was free to go or ask authorities to leave. She thought that this was like, she thought she was in custody, basically. She was told that she could be charged with homicide as a party to the crime if she didn't cooperate. They said that she said they told her, quote, that if I cooperated, they wouldn't press any charges. Like she's up for a fucking, a charge right now. They also told her that her time with Curtis was over. They said, quote, they told me that he was never coming back and that Curtis Forbes died that day. So you might as well tell on him, is what they told her. So she was crying and all that when they're telling her about that. She didn't know what the hell was going on. And She said she was just trying to cope with it all. They told her that she wasn't responsible. The one detective said, I tried to convince her not to let Curtis Forbes manipulate her from jail. They said she was visibly upset and appearing like a deer in the headlights. They also said that she became, quote, severely traumatized, numb, confused, and terrified later on. That's what she'll say happened here. She said, I was scared and became confused and numb based on what the officers were saying to me and the questions being asked. She said that if she had been told she was not required to answer the question, she would not have done so, and she would have asked them to leave. Did they not read her rights?
Evidently not.
Debbie Forbes also stated in her affidavit that officers told her Curtis Forbes had affairs with other women, including one woman who had an abortion at the same time she was giving birth to one of their children, and that Curtis had molested a family member when they were underage.
Oh, my God, your husband's a piece of shit.
So they're like, your husband's terrible and he's gone anyway, so why don't you just tell us everything that's wrong with him and we can put him away and make it easier for us. Now, she said that someone stood outside the door when she used the bathroom, which made her think she was in custody. They said the detectives deny that. She said that although detectives told her that evidence, detectives told her the DNA was a definite link. Curtis definitely did it, 100% DNA. You've seen it on TV. You know what DNA is. Meanwhile, it wasn't. And they said, we didn't tell her that. We just told her there was DNA evidence. We didn't say exactly what it was. They said that they told her also, they took their computer and hard drive and told her that they believed he was researching DNA. Again, look at my computer. Yeah. I always tell Sarah, please be careful on the stairs and everywhere else around this house, because they're just, they won't even give me a trial. They'll just hang me and be like, that's all he talks about. He's finally did it.
Look at all the records he has.
Oh my goodness.
He's got researching the perfect murder.
Hundreds of stories. He writes them out. It's creepy, man. He writes them out. Oh, my God. So they said, listen, show us any areas that might be secret that maybe evidence could be hidden. So Debbie showed them a crawl space area, but there's nothing there. No evidence there. They said that they'd been packing boxes. They were going to move. Apparently, when they showed up to talk to her, they brought with them a dozen donuts and a 12-pack of Mountain Dew.
What?
It's a very weird housewarming present there.
What kind of donuts did they say?
I'm thinking glazed. I don't know why. I think they're lazy. Just grab some glazed. Got to be a cruller in there somewhere, right?
Yeah, those are the best.
You know. So Curtis Forbes, who's the brother, or no, that's Curtis Forbes. His brother still supports him, though. His family supports him. His brother Mike said, we're going to stand behind my brother. We think he's innocent, and we think this case should be more thoroughly investigated. I agree with half of that.
Yes.
I don't think he's innocent, but I don't think they have enough evidence to convict a man of murder either.
I agree with your last sentence, but we'll move forward.
That's the one. Yeah.
I think he's a viable suspect.
Yeah, it's one of those, well, he had blood on his shirt. Well, do you have that shirt with the blood on it that you can test for DNA? Okay, so you have a vague memory of maybe he had blood on his shirt 30 years ago. That's not enough.
Let's try him for child molestation and then keep working.
Let's do that. Let's get him in there for who'd he molest? Let's work on that.
Who's that?
So his brother said they've got this whole town, even the whole state of Wisconsin, thinking he's guilty and that he hasn't even been charged. He couldn't get a fair trial unless they moved it out of state.
Yeah.
The articles, too, in the papers, they were confusing. Like, if you read them, you just saw DNA a bunch of times. It looked like they matched that DNA, and it's a lock, stock, barrel, done case.
No.
And it's like, that DNA, it might be a good case, but that DNA is not the answer to it.
Questionable as fuck.
It says, oh, definitely, Christ. Even the judge said that the judge will end up not allowing that evidence in the trial because they say it could be dozens of people in our own town. It's not like
That's a
he
problem.
said if it was 1 in 100,000, I'd give it to you. But it could be literally more than one person in this courtroom. That's crazy. Like, that's fucking nuts. So they also, Forbes, his brother here, also said that he didn't know Lane McIntyre well, and he didn't particularly like him either. Because they want the Forbes family saying Lane did it.
Yeah.
So he says about Lane, quote, it was about hi and how are you, and that was about it with us. He said, but he has been in the McIntyre home a few times before the murder. saying that maybe he or anyone else could have been at the apartment, could have left the DNA sample. So said, who knows? What the fuck? He said any of those. It could have been anybody in town that they knew. After he went and saw him in prison, in jail, Mike did, after they arrested Curtis here, because they're going to arrest him. He said that he gave jail authorities 3 pairs of white athletic socks for his brother. And he says, quote, "We'll see if he gets them." Let's not worry about that right now. They set bail at $750,000 cash bond, so that's rough. Rhonda McIntyre, Lane's sister, said that she didn't attend that. She attended the hearing. Lane couldn't attend the bail hearing because he had to work. They wouldn't give him the day off to attend his dead wife's bail hearing, murderer's bail hearing.
Suspect, yeah. What the fuck?
Holy shit! She also
strict
said
at the paper plant.
Wow, that's strict. She also said she's afraid that Forbes is going to be able to raise the $750,000 and be out on bond. Forbes approached her, she said, in 1980, inviting her to take off with him. And she said that he became enraged when he refused, the story from before.
Yeah.
So she remains bitter toward Forbes. She said, quote, "I knew he was the one that did it. God knows it. He's guilty as sin." My God. Wendy Duran, who's Lane McIntyre's other sister, said that the whole family struggled with depression and anger over the years. And she said, quote, "I always knew my brother didn't do it." That's good.
Yeah.
So, again, possible contributor, biological sample. It's evidence taken from the bathroom sink, is what it is. Forbes has no alibi for that 2 hours. They do have it locked into.
Yeah.
Has no alibi. That's a huge problem for him. And after his arrest, also there was a call that we'll talk about later. He gets arrested here, and he and Debbie call each other and talk on the phone, and it's recorded because it's prison. Right. And she yells at him about why'd you have a goddamn bloody shirt on? And that's that. So. Yeah. Meanwhile, now she'll deny the bloody shirt in court when she testifies in his trial. She'll go, "I don't know what you're talking about. There was no bloody shirt." So there's an attorney here that said that this is Forbes' attorney. He said there's certainly nothing here that establishes any sort of smoking gun. He called the connection to the death thinly expressed. He said most of the information gathered against his client is a rehash of shit from 1980. The state had requested $5 million bail, which he called absurd. He requested $10,000 bail.
That's wow.
Well, he's saying it's not like he's a danger. You're saying he's going to he said he killed one person 30 years ago, but they're saying, and he tried to take off then, and then he was packing for Hawaii now. So,
right.
Certainly
a flight risk.
They said he's a flight risk. He has property. He's a business owner. All that. And the defense says, yeah, he's got property. He's a business owner. He's got standing ties to the community. He's not going anywhere.
That's a great point. all the reasons for him to flee are definitely still reasons for him to stay.
Yeah, they said he came back a few months after the murder. He talked to the cops. What the fuck, man? They said that he has no criminal history, strong local ties. This is ridiculous. So he doesn't get that anyway. It's a $750,000 bond that they then reduced to $450,000 later on. Okay. They said that the time of death is an estimation that places it in the morning hours, but there's no exact set time. They said, we don't know when she died. It says probably a.m. That's what the report says. Mm-hmm. So they said the whole thing is the defense is going to say she died on March 10th, not on March 11th. Part of the reason for that is because Lane put March 10th on her fucking tombstone.
Oh, Lane.
So they're like, "Lane, was that a little slip of the tongue, buddy? Because you knew when she died, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "No, we'll talk about it." So they said, that's how that works. So they're talking about the DNA. The prosecution wants the DNA to be let in. And they say they identify Forbes as a 1 in 98 chance of matching the whatever. So a figure so low that it's, quote, essentially meaningless is what the defense says. And even the judge says it's usually in the millions. I don't think I've ever seen 1 in 98 until this case. You have nothing, basically, is what that is.
That's such a small amount of DNA that they have. What do they have? 2 racks of the ladder? What do they have?
Nothing. They have shit. So it went like this. They said, the judge said, so there's DNA mixed with Marilyn's blood in the bathroom, and her husband's DNA is absolutely not in that. And is there anyone else of the suspects that's a possible contributor? They said, yes, there is. And they said he was listed, Curtis Forbes, listed as a possible contributor. And they said, you have to remember this is likely a pinhead-sized stain in a sink. And they go, well, that's not enough. And they say you can't use that in court. So that's how that goes. The defense is trying to portray this as it's very sad that Lane killed his wife. Yeah, we have nothing to do with this. That's their whole defense. Their attorney in the opening calls it, quote, nothing more than a tragic example of domestic violence. And that's it. Because it's I mean, that'll muddy the waters at least, right?
Yeah, but you have a 1 in 98, but that 1 in 98 is somebody that's involved in her life. That's shitty, too.
And the jury's never going to know about that 1 in 98, though. As far as the jury goes, there's no DNA evidence whatsoever. Okay. The case is only he says he came home at 2. Debbie said he came home at 4. They think maybe the murder happened in the 3s. That's the only evidence in this case.
That's weak.
And the very vague admittance of that somebody didn't breathe again after I took him home from a bar.
It's weak.
Which is kind of a weak case, I'll be honest with you. So, they said that can't let that all in. That was a big deal. The defense here says that Lane McIntyre had the opportunity to kill Marilyn on the evening of March 10th and that a pattern of violence in the relationship, including neighbors' accounts of a loud racket coming from the McIntyre apartment the night of March 10th, provide a motive for him to commit the murder. The alibi motion that he has also lists 7 potential witnesses who, according to the defense, can document Forbes' movements on the night of March 10th and early morning of March 11th. So, yeah, it's pretty tenuous at this point. So they said no one in court, none of the documents named they end up looking for more DNA samples, basically. They want more to see if anybody matches better. And the investigator said, it's my hope, in fact, that this evidence will eliminate some people that the defense might have pointed fingers at. So they just want to eliminate, like, the guy who drove by, all these type of people, okay? So they said the judge authorized the DNA comparisons for all 8 people, not 9. They exclude the request for Christopher McIntyre, who was 3 months old. They're pretty sure he didn't kill his mom. So, wow.
That's the other part that would fuck that kid up. He was fucking there.
Oh, absolutely. He would know he was there. It's a Dexter situation there. It would totally fuck you up. So they said the testing could determine whose hair it was if they had the hair, but they don't have the hair. They said, quote, we have a 30-year-old murder case with evidence taken 30 years ago. I hope this can help finding the truth in who killed Marilyn. So, like I said, no DNA. They said used up a long time ago. Not going to happen. So the jury, they bring in a jury from another county here, and they sequester them as well.
Yeah.
Because this is all the gossip in Wisconsin at this point in time. So there's statements they're trying to use against him. I guess they are not allowing any statements that people made saying that Lane McIntyre had been domestically violent against his wife. Okay. They're not letting any of that in. So they cannot raise Lane as an alternate suspect is the deal here, which is tough for a defense because you bring up his specter, it's over. That's reasonable doubt right there.
Yeah.
He had a break that no one saw him in the break room at 3 a.m. End of fucking story.
Yeah.
Sorry. I mean, that would be the end of the trial, even though that doesn't mean he did it, and I don't think he did it.
It just means that it gives way too much opportunity for somebody else to do it.
Absolutely here. So they said that the defense cannot use testimony of domestic violence except for incidents within days of the death. So if you know of a violent thing that happened that night, great, but it can't be from 3 months before that. Mm-hmm. That's how that works. So the actual trial here, they said Marilyn McIntyre was savagely murdered by Curtis Ford. That's how they put it in the opening statement. The jurors are sequestered. Like I said, they came from Jefferson County. They brung them in from Jefferson, man. They brung them on in from Jefferson. They said, quote, this is the judge to the jurors, you are here to search for the truth. It's a case where they must follow the blood. When you follow the blood of the prosecutor. It's a case where you must follow the blood. When you follow the blood of Marilyn McIntyre, it bleeds to the defendant, Curtis Forbes. The defendant viciously and savagely beat the head of Marilyn McIntyre. He strangled her. He stuck a knife into her chest.
Jesus.
He managed to get about as far away from the trail of blood and his guilty conscience as he can. And the defense said that there's no fingerprints, no forensic evidence, no proof that he was even at the fucking house that night at all. No reports by the neighbors of shouting or noise from a physical struggle, just a dog barking. They said, so what you have is a very circumstantial case. They said, yes, he ran to Florida days after the killing because he was scared. They said he also came back later that summer, started a life, married Debbie, raised a family, worked, gave interviews to the police, gave hair samples to the police. They said, what the fuck, basically. They then said neighbors heard Lane and Marilyn arguing that night between 10 and 11 p.m., shortly before Lane went to work. Oh, Lane also took out a life insurance policy the week of his wife's death.
Yeah.
And then they said, quote, Marilyn McIntyre was murdered, we believe, on March 10th, 1980. So that's how that works. And the prosecutor said the defense wants to paint Lane McIntyre as a poor character. So that's how that goes. They have the timeline. They put up a big thing of the timeline about when this one saw that one. Tom Seidlinger driving by. This guy does this. Lights on. Weren't on at 12:35, but they were on at 3:15. Forbes arrives at 4, according to Debbie, 2, according to him, all that kind of shit. Lane McIntyre left work at 7:01. Lane has to testify as well. Lane gets up there, and he is grilled by the defense for 3 hours.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. They asked Lane what he remembered about the day he found his wife's body, what he remembered about conversations with law enforcement authorities over the last 3 decades, what he remembered about the layout of the apartment that they shared. Most of the things he recalled he didn't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all the answers were, I don't remember. They said, we heard you had an argument before you left about 10:45. And he said, quote, I don't recall. I can't remember any conversation from 30 years ago.
Oh, boy.
Which is not great. It's not great. That
Especially when
great.
it's your last conversation with your wife.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It just doesn't sound great. He said, I stood in the doorway. That's when he said I touched Marilyn's wrist and all that. They said, well, why didn't you call the police? I didn't know what the police number was. I wasn't in a state of mind to do that, he says. So they then said that how come on her tombstone the date is March 10th and not March 11th? Is that a fuck up or what? They said, why did you order that tombstone? And he said, quote, I realized I made a mistake on her headstone for years. Well, that's not an answer. Then they also get the coworker in there saying he doesn't remember seeing Lane in the break room at 3 o'clock in the morning during the 3 a.m. break. Yeah. That's not good. By the way, the coworker, though, comes in a prison uniform because he's serving time for 5 criminal convictions.
God damn it.
So that doesn't look great either. Then they bring in an inmate who's in the jail, which you can take that for whatever it's worth here. They said that Curtis Forbes in jail called Marilyn's death an overkill, and that that's the word he used when he was talking to this inmate, Shane Thompson, about the murder here. He said it was overkill. They said that, quote, he told me he arrived at the house, they got into an argument, his friend showed up, and that Forbes strangled her and stabbed her. He said it was overkill. Thompson said that Forbes told him a hair found on the body would match the other person, and that Forbes said he killed McIntyre to stop her from talking about his cheating on his girlfriend Deborah at the time. Forbes, quote, Thompson said Forbes, in his own words, quote, took care of the problem. He said, this is a direct quote, he said that sometime bitches just deserve to die.
Oh.
He said dead people can never get you in trouble unless you mess up. Sometimes bitches just deserve to die. Jesus, who doesn't say that on a daily? What the fuck kind of crazy shit is that to say? So they get Debbie on the stand. She said that Forbes had no marks or no blood on him the night that she saw him. That's it. Didn't know shit about him. Didn't see it. Nothing. I don't know. They cross-examined by the prosecution. She denied it. She said Curtis showed up about 2 a.m. that morning, not 4 a.m.
What is happening?
And she said she didn't notice anything out of the ordinary out of their about his clothing. Then they bring up the prison call between the two of them, or the jail call, where you can hear Curtis told his wife, quote, that he didn't murder her, and her response was, then where did the bloody shirt come from? Explain that to me.
Yeah.
Now, during closings, DA said that Forbes was out on the prowl, seeking sex after being cut off by his girlfriend. He decided to go out on the prowl to try and find something to replace he's no longer getting. After 2 strikes, a married friend, Rhonda Seidlinger, at a bar, the sister of a friend, Lori Dilly, he tried one last time with Marilyn McIntyre. Curtis Forbes came to the McIntyre residence like a thief in the night, and when he left, he had stolen something from the home, something so precious, something irreplaceable. He stole the life right out of Marilyn McIntyre. He said that he told people that he'd gotten away with murder and blah, blah, blah. Now, they also said actions speak louder than words. Forbes' actions say, I'm guilty of murdering Marilyn McIntyre. They said he took off. He said he was scared and confused, blah, blah, blah. Then they said Debbie's statement back then said there was blood on there. So there you go. Then they say she saw blood there, and it's Marilyn McIntyre's blood. That we don't know, so you shouldn't say that, but that's fine. Forbes did not deny there was blood on his shirt, but he told her he'd explain it to her later. Okay, now, defense attorney said there's no physical evidence linking him to the scene. Lane should be the murder suspect, according to the defense. A reasonable hypothesis is that somebody else killed Marilyn McIntyre. That's what they say. They said using photos, they explored the apartment here, pointing out Marilyn's cleanliness and the fact that little was out of place inside the apartment. They said that crime scene photos tell you about this murder. What it tells you is that the murder should have occurred well before 3:15 a.m. in that house. So the verdict comes in.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Jimmy? Let's go either way, right?
I don't like this at all.
Verdict comes in. Christopher, by the way, attends court with his dad that day.
Mm-hmm.
They're together. He attends, and he's there every day with his dad. They all go. Aunts and the whole family's there. Jury deliberates 2.5 hours on this.
Oh, boy.
And, that's which is shorter than the closing arguments were. Curtis is at the defense table there, and they say he's guilty of murder.
Wow.
They call him there guilty there. He was found, like I said, no DNA, hair, fingerprints. It's very circumstantial. And sentencing comes up. You, sir, may fuck off. Life in prison for Curtis.
Oh, boy.
Life. He's certainly a fucking scumbag.
He
I don't like the guy.
Yeah.
He definitely sucks. But the reaction here, though, for the family, they said it was justice, and they felt better about it now.
Is that right?
Yeah. Her brother said, I know Curtis Forbes was guilty from day one. And, they said Marilyn's at rest now. We finally got justice for Marilyn. That's what her sister said. Before the verdict was read, Marilyn's son Christopher said he was exhilarated to have reached the end of the trial, but it would have been extremely upsetting to not have the guilty verdict. Mm-hmm. They said after the guilty verdict, will you sleep better now, finally? And he said, I will for sure. So this is like it's a bomb to their whole thing here. He said, we don't have to cry about this anymore. We can finally go on with our lives. It hurts every time I relive that shock and horror. That's what Lane says. They say it was a string of miracles and hard work of law enforcement that got the verdict. And Lane said, quote, the truth won. Now, he now lives, Lane, after this, he moved to Beaver Dam, which was about 40 miles northeast of Madison. It's about a dozen miles from Columbus, so not far. And he says that, the problem is since then, everything's gone wrong. His son doesn't talk to him anymore now. And they said, are you angry about everything that's happened? He said, you're darn right I'm angry. He said, what I feel is vindication, even though people don't know the truth yet. There are people who snickered and enjoyed causing me pain. Now they're going to know I didn't do anything wrong. So his son is, in his 30s. They're estranged. He's 40 now, for fuck's sake. And he's goddamn our age. And he said that all the stories that had happened, it made it worse, and it wasn't great. And Marilyn's family, though, said that it's not going to bring Marilyn back, but it's going to give us closure and some peace. It's like a big weight's been lifted off our shoulders to hear this whole deal. Lane also says, quote, about this whole thing, he said he's bitter and angry and is looking for payback for those who thought he killed his wife. He said, quote, he wants to write a book about the murder and, quote, the way people are in a small town. We already do that show, Lane, but you're more than welcome to join us for something. I don't know. We'll talk to you.
Too late, but let's talk.
He said that he chose to stay in Wisconsin because, quote, an innocent man doesn't run. He says, though, if he sells books, he hopes to retire someplace far away. He says, I want to go where nobody knows me, where I don't have to defend myself and live the rest of my days in peace. I have a right to be happy. I didn't do anything wrong.
Well, yeah.
Okay. And 2013, he and Christopher filed a wrongful death suit. Problem is, the law requires the wrongful death suit be filed within 2 years of the date of when it's known to a reasonable probability that the identity of the person alleged to commit the murder. So that date begins when that date doesn't begin when there's a conviction. It begins when they're a suspect,
2002?
basically. Like 2008, I guess. Yeah. The formal complaint was filed March 30th, 2009. So that would be where it starts. They filed July 2011, 4 months too late.
Oh, no.
So they said, sorry, tough shit. That was that. No wrongful death. Also in 2013, the state Supreme Court denies hearing the appeal of Curtis here.
Okay.
The attorneys with the Criminal Appeals Project of the University of State of Wisconsin argued that Forbes' conviction should be overturned or he should at least get a new trial, saying that he was not able to present a full defense. They said that he should have been able to cast more suspicion on Lane. And the court, though, said that Forbes was reasonably permitted to present a defense and to keep fucking off.
Okay.
Now, problem is they still don't talk, Christopher and Lane. Christopher said, quote, I don't speak to my family, or Lane said, I don't speak to my family and I don't speak to my son. He says that he believes Christopher lives in a world of lies. He said, quote, we haven't moved on. Kurt Forbes took Marilyn away from me, but she would have wanted her husband to love her son. And not happening now. So he's 41,
God
42.
Damn it.
He's 42 years old, and it's a mess. And
ruined the whole family.
Ruined the whole family. Lane is destroyed. This was on a couple of shows. I didn't watch the shows, but it was on 48 Hours, and it was also on Oxygen.
Yeah.
And there was some other show, too, it was on. So that, everybody, is Columbus, Wisconsin.
Oh, my God.
That's a crazy story. We don't normally do, the cold cases and go back on the evidence, so we had to do this one just because it's so weird and strange.
I wish there was more evidence, man. I don't like it at all.
No, I'd love to hear people's theories on this, too, if you can, whatever your theories are. I mean, if you look at, all the TV shows from, what I read as synopsis and shit, they're taking it as soon as that guilty verdict came through, 100% it was Curtis, no problem.
Wow.
I don't know if I buy that. I don't think it was Lane either. That's the other thing. I don't know if it was. This could be one of those things. We have no fucking idea what happened.
Yeah.
It was a brutal rape murder. This could be anybody.
I guess you got to lean on 1 in 98, and he's involved in her life.
Shit.
That's too
how
unlucky.
How many other people she knew would have been in that pool? They knew everybody in the fucking town.
They better test everybody in that town.
That's what I'm saying.
Closer.
It's crazy. I feel terrible for that kid. As bad as you can feel for anybody.
Yeah.
That fucking poor kid. To be able to, from what I hear anyway, it seems like he's doing well in life, at least enough. Yeah. I don't know about emotionally, but he's surviving and he's not, killing anybody or anything. Right. So that right there, he's done a tremendous job.
Truly.
Better than I could have done with that sort of upbringing.
Not on drugs, Jesus.
Oh, Christ almighty. What a poor fucking guy. We feel terrible for Christopher. So anyway, that's Columbus, Wisconsin. Yeah. That is a crazy case. If you like that case or any of the other ones, get on whatever app you're listening on. Give us 5 stars. Help us out a lot. It does do that. It helps drive the show up the charts. Also, follow us on social media. We're at Murder Small on Twitter, at Small Town Pod on Facebook, at Small Town Murder on Instagram, as well as going to shutupandgivememurder.com right now for lots of things.
Yeah.
Merchandise, number 1. All sorts of cool shit. Anything you can think of, we have some kind of saying that you like on it. So check that out. And then wear whatever you have over to a live show, goddammit. Oh, baby. August 12th. 2 shows at Cobb's Comedy Club in San Francisco.
Right.
Those are 2 different shows, too. So if you want to come out and see both shows, you're going to see 2 completely different cases. So that'll be fun. Next night, August the 13th, we're in Sacramento. Small Town Murder sold out, but the Crime and Sports show, the Late Show, has a few tickets left. So get those right now. After that, September the 10th, we're at the Pabst in Milwaukee. Oh, come see us. This is the one where we are jacked for this. This is the biggest venue we've ever had. Yeah. Let's sell it out and let's just fucking have a great time. A big old goddamn Wisconsin party. Let's have fun. Show Minneapolis and Chicago. Who's boss, goddammit?
Yes.
And if you went to the Chicago show, because I know those cities are very close, this will be a different case than we did in Chicago. So you can come on up to Milwaukee and see a totally new show. It'll be a lot of fun. Come on out and see us. That is shutupandgivememurder.com. Also get tickets for Tampa and Orlando later on in, I believe, September, I think, or sometime. September, I think.
September, yeah.
It's in September. Get your tickets for those. Those are 2 shows in Tampa, 2 shows in Orlando. All of that, shutupandgivememurder.com. Patreon is also cooking. Oh, it's cooking, Jimmy. It's at a full boil. Patreon.com/crime and sports is where you can get all of the good bonus material, bonus episodes. And these are good bonus episodes. This isn't, we don't put out some crap every once in a while where we're like, fucking around at like a coffee shop bullshitting. We put out real episodes. Our Patreon episodes are at least an hour long a piece. Yeah. Back catalog of over 100 episodes, tons of stuff to listen to. And every month you're going to get like 4 new episodes at least for 2 Crime and Sports, 2 Small Town Murder. You get access to everything. This week, what you're going to get for your $5 or above, you're going to get the story of John Rocker, who's a baseball pitcher who's one of the biggest gaping assholes who's ever walked the earth. He says dumb shit. He's a fucking asshole, and he's proud of it, and he wears it like a badge of honor in a really bad way. Yeah. He's not a good asshole like us. He's a dick.
We'll talk about him upside down and backwards. He's an asshole.
God, and white Oakleys. Yeah. And in addition to that, for Small Town Murder, we're going to talk about one of the craziest cases ever in Skidmore, Missouri. It's been the most requested case, literally, we've ever had. From, I think, the second day our podcast came out, I started getting requests for this fucking show. Right up until today, when I saw a request for it in one of the groups, and people were like, it's Patreon this week, relax. Skidmore, Missouri, wild case of a guy who's the town bully who everybody hates. He's murdered in front of dozens of fine, otherwise upstanding citizens who won't tell investigators anything that happened, and it just goes unsolved, and it's wild.
Ships.
That's right. Don't snitches get stitches, bitches. That's what I'm saying. So that said, do that. Patreon.com/crime and sports. And of course, you'll get a shout out.
Holy shit. Bet.
Because we're excited that you signed up and we want to thank you for it. That said, Jimmy, hit me with those names. Tell me the best fucking people in the world who I can thank one by one as I go to sleep at night. Jimmy, hit me with that list.
This week's executive producers are Pure Romance by Krista Jolly, Jordan Bennett, Melissa Plummer, James Atkinson, and Matt Rogers. Thank you guys for everything. You're incredible. Our other producers this week are Matt Villanueva. He drove all the way from South Carolina to Atlanta last week to see us. That was incredible. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you so much.
Great.
That's awesome.
Jennifer Inglis doesn't know Anne-Marie Metzler, but she saw on Facebook that she's listening while getting chemo and wants her to know that she sees her. Keep up the good fight, Anne-Marie. You're doing a great thing. Keep going.
Keep it up.
Other producers continued are Marissa Oman Hughes, Amanda Hop, I think. Happy Hour checking in Biloxi, Liv Seidel and Tula. Joey Pepperoni Nips sticking around. Thank you, Joey.
There he is. My man.
Lisa Smith, good luck in the Mongolian Derby, whatever that is. Janice Hill, Sinead O'Bray, Jordan Gamble, Frank the South African Birdwasher, Marthy and Annie celebrating their first anniversary. Congrats. Erica Tavecchio, I believe that's right. Peter Hodge, Candy Staples, Courtney Peasley, Jane Lellovelt, I don't know, Dan Pelch, Katie Bird, Danny Wood, Zach Brumley, Skylar Song, Michael Bateman, Sam Lee, Lorna Burnoft, Melissa Kilmer, I think that's Val's daughter, Jen Beer, Judy with no last name, Lori
Tombstone money,
Lori Palmer, Michelle with no last name, Austin Gurr, careful with that one, Nicole Behrens, Jim McQuinn, Jessica Nelson Morris, Alexander Albrecht, Sean and Ronnie, Joe Whitcomb, yep, that's true, Ingrid Hope, Yofis 527, Daniel Willis, Bridget Elizabeth, Joshua Skinner, Old School Belts, Mary Beth Senlick, Elena Chavez, Tyler with no last name, Julia Nelson, Kaylin Ronquillo, Susan Crow2, Carly Guinani, maybe, Bridget Boucher, or Butcher, who knows?
He's going.
Frank Alvarado, Pelpagrogus, Brumpo Tunguzas, Shelby Parks, Grace Brunner.
Wow, cool.
Daniel Tivnan, Jesse Galloway, Orlando Ellis, James with no last name, Don Jurgens. That's 2 different household products. Casey Moran, Scott Dwyer, Laura Digirolamo. Digirolamo?
Did where? What's going on?
Right in the Lamo.
Man.
Daniela
It's
Cutting.
the most painful place to get it.
Eric Sajeka, I think. I don't know. Annie Furman, Sergio Gaitan, Holly Joe, Bobby Howard, Lexi Wright, Joey Lovejoy. That's crazy. Amber Thomas, Don Parker, Jason Fortman, Stacy Coleman, Sal G, Britt with no last name, Jonathan Everett, Alexis Dries, Bo Mollinger, Allison Hughes, Danny Rodriguez, David Schwantz. Jesus, I hope not. Riley Anderson.
Jesus Christ.
Miriam. His last name is Schwartz. Boy.
If your last name can be construed as penis in any language, Jimmy is going to be really excited. You have no idea. Fart or penis?
Miriam Zayrafi, Clark Alejandra Nava, Dave Harris, Heather Monasterio, Kiki 1977, Parker is shiny like the seal, Susan Fitzpatrick, Linda Soda Ravocic, Mark Burnett, probably not that one, Bobby Howard, Kimberly Colvin, Dan Matthews, Kyle Magner, Ace Finch, Chris Jarvie, Janetta Shunk. Whew, tough one. Marie Miller, Ellen with no last name, Josh Wiener, what? Wien Schreider?
Wiener Shredder?
Yes.
Wow. That's rough,
Jesus, man. Josh. Neuro with no last name, Ben Hurd, Seth Morrissey, Audrey Lavoie, Patrick Luke, Pierre Luke, Stacy Tucker, Lucy Kraft, Annie with no last name, Kirsty Kelstad, Eric Draney, Jonna Akers, Anna C, Cheaper Than Therapy, Lucy with no last name, Snagy with no last name, Donna McCann, Casey Hagan, Matt Jonathan Weiss, Michael Critch, Helen Christie, Holly Mulholland, Coleman Johnston, weird, Briar Buckholter, Christopher Goodlow, Robert Burton, Melinda Overman, Cy Kano, Jared Grady, Reese Econominides.
Nicely done.
Megan
He's
Richards.
going Greek, everybody.
Cope Fresh, Jake Green, Andy Hansen, Bailey Martinson, Crystal Anderson, Logan Owens, Vanessa Sanchez, J.D. Brizantine, Shonda W., Elizabeth Addington, Rick Charm, Justin DePaul, Jillian with no last name, Susan Jones King, Lucy Williams, Jason for President, Justin Mott, Galen Walker, Tiffany with no last name, Del O. Hughes, Bree Lake, Kyle Rath, John Shar, Kimberly Conover, Fright Bat, Sandra Garcia, J.C. Cotton, Tony Britness Gray, Misen Daffrin, Becca Sue, I'm Not Louise, I don't know who you are then, Tiffany Kyler, Brenda Strickland, Liz with no last name, Don Pauling, Corey Green Newman, Anthony Tiberi, Christine Makzulski, Keaton with no last name, Luke Robinson, Richard Hatley, Stephen Smith, Michael Shepard, John Davidson, Saud Al-Dalifadif, Abdutulif, I said it twice wrong, right in a row. Not wrong. Matthew Hardman, Brad Ravenwood, Reagan McCartney, Alex with no last name, Kara Colley, Melissa Peck, the Pecker, Kristen with no last name, Buford T. Justice, Christina Park, Adam Lawson, Christopher Loescher, Juan East, Dina with no last name, Trevor Parath, Robin Mills, Natalie with no last name, Grace Fenner, Paul Serrato, Zach Carter, Paige Damn it, Paige Bray, Abacadabra, Steve Miller's whore wife, Rachel, up and grab ya. Princess Joe Pesci, Cheyenne Martin, Lee Keevan, Diane Lynn, Vrooman Thompson, Jess Serrano, Tara Hopkins, Saskatoon's Shawarma Man, Ben with no last name, Megan McLaren, Joe Lorelei, both of those with no last name, Alex Greenfield, Dirty Omelet, that sounds gross, Jane Bradley, Gabriel Miller, Tim Lakey, Austin Carrillo, Josiah Steffi, Taylor Gushru, there's no R in that, Gushu, Jen with no last name, Karen Melanowski, J. Michael Moore, Dennis C. Arias, Amanda Parks, Amy Davis, Gage Blick, James, nope, that's Joe Measy, Emma Seigel, Reamer, K with a J, Kiel,
wow.
Landwehr, I don't know, but listen, you guys and all of our patrons, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody, from the bottom of our hearts. Honestly, can't thank you enough for what you do for us, and we'll keep trying to pump it out, and we hope you keep trying to listen to it, and we'll be very happy over here. You want to follow us on social media? Very easy to do that. You can just go to shutupandgivememurder.com. There's links to everybody's social media, or just Google search Small Town Murder Podcast Host. You'll find us. We're there. Oh, my goodness. Come back next week. Come back each and every week. Crazy shit. Also, come back Fridays for the Express. And goddammit, be here Tuesdays for Crime and Sports as well. That said, until next week, everybody, it's been our pleasure.
Bye.
If you like Small Town Murder, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
Have you ever gotten a message out of the blue? Maybe you ignore them. Or maybe you end up in conversation. Maybe they tell you about an amazing offer. I can really show you how to make some money. And maybe that gets you into a lot of trouble. But this isn't a story about people like you, the people receiving these messages. This is a story about the people behind the messages, on the other end of the line. Thousands of them, working in a microcity built for scammers. From Wondery, the makers of Dr. Death and Kill List, comes Scam Factory, a new series about survival at the expense of others. Follow Scam Factory on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Scam Factory early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.